Hello, everybody. How are you doing tonight? Hope everybody's having a good night. Hello, Summer the Sweaty Fat Guy. And on cue, present Doberman. So we give it a minute to let everybody show up, and then I will start in on the how many cars have I owned and how many cars have you owned? I've owned 27 so far. I currently own 5 cars. What's up, Hammer Wrench? Finally, it's like 7 o'clock. What do you want from me? My file did not load correctly, so I'm going to have to do this from my computer. So I do apologize. How's everybody doing tonight? Oh, hopefully everybody's having a good night. I see. So how many cars have you owned, Thumper? I'm assuming it's a lot for Thumper. And also, I think Hammer, she said it was 48 cars so far, which you guys probably both have me beat. Yeah, I was editing right up until this, and I didn't realize that the file was too big to load it into StreamYard, so I'm going to have to share the screen instead. Whoop. And we'll get back to that in just a minute. Sorry about that. It's not going to be quite as awesome as I'd hoped it was going to be. I didn't realize my file was too big because it's like a hair bigger than the one I did last week for the movie. So I didn't realize I popped over the limit. I'm Mofo Driver. Hello, Engine Light Garage. Thanks for dropping by. I see he is currently on 42 of his vehicle ownership. Yeah, I will likely get there. I don't doubt I'll own at least another 1 or 2 cars this year. It all depends on how everything goes with the channel. You're fine, feats. I really don't have anything I can sell at the moment, so it'd have to be procuring something new. And Mofo, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if some people can't remember. I'd done a project for a friend that had requested how many cars everybody had like a year ago, so it was sort of fresh in my mind because I'm pretty sure I'm missing 1 or 2, and I'm not including 1 or 2 of the cars that I bought when I was married because I didn't buy them for me. We bought them for her. So, hey, Mike SR340, what's up? Thanks for dropping by. In another 2 minutes, and then we will start with the slideshow. I wouldn't be surprised if Pickle drops by, and who knows who else will stop in. Yeah, Fiona, I can't pet you all the time. I know you think I can, but I really can't. So it wouldn't be a live stream without. I don't have any kids, so there's no kids, but there is dog. There's always dog. This is Fiona. She's going to be 11 this year. She and her brother Max are both Dobermans. They're both red Dobermans. Don't let the ears fool you. They crop the ears. They don't naturally come pointy and aggressive looking. I should share this stuff. Had the subject come up for me not that long ago because I do a lot of buying and trading, and I had to sit down and go through the archives of my brain and make a list. Yeah, I had to do the same, and I only have 27. So, hey, I figured Pickle'd show up. What's up, Pickle? I think Pickle is going to be the lowest number of car ownership in this live stream at 0 or -1. Everybody say hi to Pickle. Pickle is awesome. Pickle just joined our bi-weekly stream, which is the stream I do with Junkyard Necromancer, Witty's Garage, New Guy's Guitar, New Guy's Garage, and now we've added Pickle. So every other Monday, we're going to be doing a live stream. It's everybody, so you get a nice big group of witty banter going on. Well, yeah, I can confirm Pickle is at 1 or -1 technically, but he's still super young, so he's got all the time in the world to ruin his life with car ownership. I think I will throw this up there. See if I can do this. Ooh, picture in picture even. So I figured I would quickly go through the vehicles I've owned and let you guys let me know what you've owned, and hopefully I can maybe even pull some of the stuff up on the screen and we can chat about it. Oop. Oop. Sorry, I'm trying to, there we go. Oh, no, I'm really small. So my first car I actually got from my grandparents from my dad's side, and it was an 85 Mercury Marquis, which is the four-door built off of the Fox body chassis or the Mustang chassis. So technically I've owned two Mustang chassis cars. This was an awesome car. I piled an immensely large amount of my friends in it, and we drove all over the place. Had AC, lived in Florida, so it was it was white. I couldn't find a white one. But I took the hubcaps off, and almost everybody thought I was an undercover cop. So it got me probably out of a lot of things, and probably also helped me avoid having fun with certain things. Well, so that gives us a -1 for Pickle. He actually had to sell his quad. So yeah, you unfortunately are definitely suboptimal, my friend. And that brings us to my next vehicle. I actually bought an 85 F-150 306 C5 transmission and short bed. It was actually an old Napa parts truck, and it ran like garbage from day one. It was neat. It was first truck. I thought I was cool. Not quite this low, just standard height, but it looked pretty much identical. Hey, Mater. Hey, Bear Rose. Thanks everybody for joining in. Yeah, my second car was an 85. Wasn't this one? It was an 85 F-150. It was a fun truck. I wish I had known more about things like carburetors. It would have been good if I'd known Dan then, but I'm not even sure he was born yet. Because it ran like garbage from day one. But it was fun. I got to learn just how little I knew about cars when I was 18. So. Sorry, guys, I'm going to have to switch back and forth between the stream. I didn't plan on doing this way. Brings us to my third car. I had a 93 Toyota mini truck, 4-cylinder, 5-speed. Actually, it was lifted on 30-inch tires, so it was still two-wheel drive, but that thing was a ton of fun. Wasn't super duper fast, but I put a Flowmaster on it, so it made all the right noises and was annoying to everybody. Basically that same color. A lot of fun. Actually, that was this truck I moved up back home to Michigan with, and two-wheel drive with marginally fat tires and one-wheel peel in winter was not an immense amount of fun. I did get to learn how to drive in snow, so that was entertaining. I put a really nice stereo in it and just drove it. A ton of. I wanted to do stuff with it. I wanted to lift it, and I was always into cars, but I didn't have the money or the knowledge at the time. Hey, Neverboard S10, thanks for dropping by. Hopefully, we're all doing good today. No. He might have left a. I'm sorry. It'll make more sense if I go backwards. I do think you are possibly right, Bear Rose, because the twin I-beams on a Ford, when you lower them, if you don't adjust the angle, they actually cant in so that it looks like it has extremely bad camber. So, actually, that would be caster. Sorry. And Neverboard S10 is in here. Hopefully we're all doing good today. I hope so. We're going over cars I've owned. Let me know if you guys have owned anything I have, or if you've owned something cool, and I will try to pull it up as we go through here. Oh, and thank you, Mofo. If you guys would, I would greatly appreciate you hitting the like button. And if you see anybody in here that you don't recognize, please go give their channel a look and a subscription if you think it's worth it. Because that's a big part of doing these is trying to connect the community together, because I like the people that we all have as a shared interest with. This next was actually this truck was my favorite truck. It was a 94 F-150. I didn't have my truck was the same, but can't find the old pictures of it. It looked just like this one. Mine had a bed bar and off-road lights, but it wasn't a night package, but it was just after that, so it had sort of the same stuff on it. 302. The only Achilles heel for that truck was it had an AOD, or I'm sorry, E4OD automatic transmission. And good Lord, that thing sucked. That made the truck unbearable. I've had a number of Fords, and every Ford I've had, except save one that has had an automatic transmission, that's basically why I stopped driving the car, was because the trans took a crap. If I ever buy a Ford again, which I more than likely will do, it's going to have a manual transmission. This truck was fun. 4-wheel drive. I had an absolute blast in this thing. I really liked it. It looked great. Murdered out, as they say. Nice jet black. Fancy interiors, XLT, so I felt like I was fancy. That was actually the first car I bought when I got here to Michigan. Hi, guys. Pickle's saying those are cool Fords, especially with the 7.3 power. I've never been a giant diesel fan. I know people are. I get the idea behind them, but I've just never been a real diesel fan. I know that if I was going to start hauling a lot, it'd be the right move. If I wanted to make a lot of grunty power for doing off-road stuff, they have a lot of potential for it. I've just never been a giant diesel fan. I don't know how you guys feel about them. Like them, don't like them. I know a real common thing for Jeep swaps is the small Cummins. I think it's a 4BT, and they just started making a crate engine a couple of years ago that is not a lot of horsepower, but it's a lot of torque, but it's like a $10,000 engine, and I couldn't imagine doing that. I'd rather put an LS in it or a built 4-liter. And the thing I wish that had been the coolest and ended up being not a very good car. I got an 85, about this color, notchback, and I always wanted one, and I paid nothing for it, and I got nothing because it was not in good shape. It was completely slammed to the ground. It had long tube headers on it, and it would actually, if you got on the right part of the pavement at a stoplight, you could hear that collectors on the long tubes just dancing rhythmically off the concrete. The first time I got it up on a car lift, the whole bottom of the flange was basically being shaved off by the ground. I wanted that car to be so much cooler, but it was one of those things where I had the F-150. I was working at McLaren. I had no money, and I bit off more than I could chew. So it ended up becoming something I sold and only lost a couple $100. I wish it had been cooler because the car looked great lowered like that. It had really nice 17-inch wheels. It was like 4 shades of blue. It wasn't super rusty for Michigan. Barrow's saying, Tone, you can't beat a diesel. That's where, yeah, that's the same thing. If I ever do, realistically, if I start, as the channel grows, if I start collecting more vehicles, I'm going to have to have a way to transport them. I just couldn't, I don't want to do a diesel unless I don't have a choice. It's one of those things where it's nice to know people with diesels and trailers, sort of like knowing people with boats. I don't really want to own one, but it's nice to be around them. Nope. Heterogeneity rocks. Stickers are in the mail. Hopefully you get them fairly soon. I don't know what it's going to be like with Pickle. Since you're up there in Canada, it could take a couple weeks. So don't be surprised if it takes a little bit of time, but they are in the mail. If you don't get them within at least like a week and a half, 2 weeks, let me know and I will send you another set. And Pickles saying, yep, but not a fan of it. Yeah, because I know Pickles had a lot more of a farming background, so he's had industrial stuff and more. And I'm not sure. Is your tractor that you and your dad have gas or diesel? I can't remember. Pickle. I've always been a fan of notchback Mustangs in general. So that's the second Fox chassis I've had with the Mercury Marquis. I'd love to find a Marquis or a LTD or the wagon, because that would be the coolest thing. Or actually, I'd really like a 2-door Fairmont, and they're hard to find. They're really hard to find. And it brings me back to the first new car I ever actually bought. I bought a 2000 model year 4-cylinder, unfortunately, 5-speed Wrangler. right off dealer lot. I loved that car. I actually ended up getting rid of the Mustang and the F-150 and got that. I had a ton of fun in that thing. If you don't stop. I've always wanted Jeeps. I always had them as a kid. Well, my parents always had them when I was a kid. Absolute ton of fun. Nothing better than putting the top down and taking the doors off and driving around on the street and not having any cops pull you over because you don't have any doors or anything in your car. A lot of fun to hang out in. You can cram a lot of people in them because you can take the top off. Unfortunately, in four-cylinder mode, they are slow. Very, very slow. I ended up putting 1-inch puck lifts on it and ran 31-inch tires, and it looked great, but man, it was highway speed was, I did much better downhill than uphill. And Pickle says the tractor is a diesel, but it's okay. I got a gas because the winter is really cold. Yeah, I see we have to run anti-gel and stuff in the diesel tractor even. If you want to stop it. Sorry, dogs are doing dog things. Okay, thank you, Fee. Hammer Inch said he had an 06 TJ. I've actually had 3 TJs. The one I currently have, which you'll see in the slideshow later, is my 06. And that thing is, I'm not getting rid of it. I had no intention to get rid of the second one, but things happened. Hey, Smoke Wrench, how you doing? Welcome to the chat. We're going over some of the cars I've owned. If you guys want to throw in what you've owned, or if you've owned any of the stuff I have, please feel free. And as we go through this, I will try to pull up another page and we'll go over some cool cars and stuff as we go. And then I had this tendency to buy more than one car at a time. So that's my 2000 TJ. And I bought, it was an 86 LTD two-door Crown Vic LTD. I can't remember off the top of my head, but bought it for $500 at a car show in the Thumb. If you ever run into anybody from Michigan, they're going to do this and go, I live here. And Michigan is shaped like a mitten other than the Upper Peninsula, but we don't count that too much. So I was at a car show in the tip of the thumb in a town called Port Austin. Found it for, it was $600. And my friends and I drove it back. I had a lot of fun with that car. I thought I was going to do some cool stuff with it. But at the end of the day, it was a $600 car. And nothing much happened with it. Unfortunately, I had a lot of great ideas, but money and timing, and didn't have a house with any of these cars, so I didn't get a chance to do a lot to them, unfortunately. Oh, hey ASO, how you doing? Yep, thanks. Definitely say hi to everybody. Good to see everybody here tonight. I greatly appreciate it. This was a neat car. At some point, I might find another one, especially because it was two-door, and I had a lot of good. I've great plans. Don't always get a chance to finish them. That's why I don't care what I do with the Chandler. It is going to be done. And then I ended up selling both the Wrangler because it was too slow to drive halfway across the state, which is what I tended to do for work. I live on the east side of Michigan. I tended to work on the west side. It's something that's fairly common in our state. So I was driving at least an hour each way to go to work. A lot of stuff is over there for work, but I didn't want to live over there. I bought a 2001 GMC ZQ8 lowered truck. This same color. Mine was a extended cab like this with a standard bed. Ended up throwing a set of wheels on it. Drove it quite a bit. Had a lot of fun with it. This at least was posi. But again, I forgot apparently how bad a two-wheel drive truck is in the winter until I had this. And then I realized that it doesn't matter how many salt or bags of salt and dirt you put in the back, it's still a two-wheel drive truck, especially with it being lowered. It slid up things more than drove up things. Okay, Fiona, thank you. Oh, old man in the shop, thank you for dropping by. We're talking cars tonight, talking about the stuff I've owned, and feel free to throw whatever you have, or if you've owned something that I have, and we can discuss. Neat truck. I enjoyed it. At the same time, I ended up buying another car, which I really, really wish that this one had worked out better. I bought a 71 Buick, not a GS, just a regular. It was as close as I thought I was ever going to get to a Chevelle, which I love that body style Chevelle. Very neat car. That was a $400 special. It did not run. And it was promised that you just need to adjust the timing. No, it was a $400 car, and he got out of it. That was kind of his plan, which I understand. And bought that car about the same time I got into my first house. I figured I would bring it down, start having a lot of fun with it, do some stuff. And unfortunately, it just never happened. Ended up selling it pretty cheap. I ended up getting a GS grill from a friend, and I still have the grill. It's not in fantastic shape, but it's easily restorable. So I'm going to try to find somebody that would want it, no name, and bring it down and give it to them, because the likelihood of me having another one is low. Might even be something that I think Lunar Outlaw has the same era, and it is a real GS grill. So it might be. I'm not looking to make money off it. I just want it to go somewhere and be used, because unfortunately I've had it sold a couple times, but shipping the grill would have been $200 to $300, because almost everyone wanted it in Canada, and I couldn't do it because nobody wanted to pay what I was asking to sell it to. Then again, for shipping, nobody wanted to pay $500 to $600 for a grill. Yeah, I got to run Neverboard S10s also in Michigan. Got to run Winter Force tires, winter on those. I never had any luck. I mean, my '93 Toyota had an all-terrain tread pattern tire, but it just not a fan. I'm 4x4s for winter, beaters or whatever, but I'm not gonna deal with it. Maybe a front wheel drive, worst case, if I just need something for gas mileage. I'm driving all kinds of crazy places. But he had Mike. I'm not sure if that was a comment for something else, just in case. He had a 96 Jimmy 4.3 rod bearing. Yeah, the 4.3s were fun. I mean, they were a good motor. You could do a lot with them within up to a limit, sort of like a 5-liter Mustang from the notchback era. They would take, solid 450, but after that, you're really going to have driving problems. At least from everything that I remember. I don't know if how much of that has changed. So it'd be interesting to find out if anybody is a subject matter person for the small blocks or for the 4.3s. Yeah, Auto Salvador said that's his favorite of the Buick body styles. Yeah, I really like that Skylark. It was about that color, nowhere near that nice. I guess I never learned to not buy other people's projects, because I keep buying other people's projects. I didn't have the resources, the money, or the ability to do the things that I wanted to at that time. I really was hoping to do that. I started looking. TA Performance used to be a company that made Buick parts. I think they still do. But they made a lot of performance stuff for the engines and stuff, because I wanted to try to keep it as a 350 Buick, maybe a 455. Sometimes, the dreams and aspirations don't always make it all the way through. Hey, Jim, how you doing? Thanks for dropping by. So Jim has said he's had 40 cars. A lot of you guys are way ahead of me. Yes, thank you. It's a nice Buick. Yes. All right. Buck calls his a Buckick or the Buick or the Buck. I'm not sure. I know he has a cute term for it. You are correct. Every car is someone else's project, but if they sell that project, 9 times out of 10, there's a reason for it, and that reason tends to be that they can't finish that project, or it's for whatever the reason may be. It tends to not be great. Oh, hey, Junkyard. Hey, Junkyard, how's it going? Junkyard just bought a 68 F250. He's got some content up on it and coming up on his channel. Very sweet truck. I've always liked the dent sides, or the bump sides. I always do that backwards. I've always been more partial to 70 to 72s because of the grill, but that's nitpicky. You can always change those. But he's got a cool truck. Bear Rosa says, yeah. My yard is full of other people's failed projects and dreams. Yeah, technically, 3 of my 5 cars right now, the Chambler, the 63 Rambler, and the Comanche, are projects that someone couldn't do or finish for some reason. The Chambler was, I think he was in over his head. The Comanche, I bought it from a father that he bought it to help fix it up with his kid. Bought basically a whole other Comanche worth of parts, and his kid decided, no, I want an 08 Charger, so that's what happened. And the 63, which will be on the channel likely this fall, was a gentleman's drag car when he was a kid, and it was his car when he was in high school, and he never got a chance to finish it. Put it in the barn, and it sat there for 30 something years, about 30 miles north of me in Michigan. Hey, we're just saying all them cars. He said it would take all day. Yeah, and ASO is, excuse me, ASO, I believe, works in the junking or recycling business, and is overly giddy about the amount of cars he's crushed, which hurts a little here, just a tiny bit. Junkyard saying he's filmed 3 videos on it and nothing edited yet. Well, you've done a couple of shorts, I believe, with the diff and some of the other stuff and getting it, which it's going to be a neat truck. I think you're going to have fun with it. Barrow's saying $500 cars and trucks are still out there, but you gotta pay for it. Yeah, sorry that Fiona likes to try to use my legs and abdomen as something to stretch with. Yeah, my Rambler was $750 delivered, which was awesome at 63. The Chambler was $1,100 delivered. I got a much better deal with the Rambler. That's got a lot more potential to take a lot less time to get it together, even though it's going to require more overall stuff. So, the Comanche wasn't bad either. It was $2,150, and it, like I said, it came with almost a whole other car worth of parts. Didn't come with the parts I actually needed to get it back on the road because it had been sitting for a long time, but it did come with a lot of extra parts. Nope. Jim just remembered he had a Bobcat wagon, so he is at 41 cars. Yeah, I don't doubt I'm still probably forgetting something I had at some point, or can't remember the fact I did have it or never actually had it in my possession, even though I paid for it. Those things happen sometimes. Yeah, again, Auto Salvage Outlaws is way too giddy about crushing cars. I try to let that be my last resort, but I guess if you're in the business, you're making money off of one way or the other. So I think we will move on. And this was my next $500 car, actually. I bought this off of a guy I worked with at the Romeo Proving Grounds when I was contracted to Ford as a mechanic. It was an 87 Thunderbird Turbo Coupe, 5-speed. This was a neat car. I did drive it home. I didn't buy the car for the car. I bought the car for the drivetrain because I wanted to do one of two things. I was going to put it in the CJ5 because basically the CJs, you can get them with a T5 bell housing, which is what the Mustangs ran, and the Turbo Coupes did. So it would have at least been a basic slap together, and I wanted to put a little turbo motor in it. And even at 180 horsepower range, it would have been for this thing stockish. It would have been a rocket. I'd also always wanted a MGB GT2, which is the coupe version. Not the convertible, the one that has a longer roof to the back. And I still want to put a 2.3 turbo in that. A couple of years ago, the Hot Rod Garage guys had done a updated one of these, and I want to say it was right around 450 horsepower with a fairly stock 2.3, which I'd love to do. I think it'd be fun. It's a neat little motor, and they definitely have potential, and it's light enough that putting it in a Jeep or some kind of small Japanese or European car would be fun. Let's see real quickly. Let's add up how many different cars you've washed. I'm assuming that might be leading to somebody else, but if it is me, I've washed all my cars, but it's one of the things I'm extremely bad at. There's two things I'm horrible at. One of them is washing cars. The other one is painting with a brush or a roller. I have tried many different things, and not my strong suit. I've tried many different ways, many different techniques, many suggestions, and none of them worked out. So. Sorry, I'm just trying to keep up here. And we're just saying, love this Turbo Super Coupes. It was a neat car. I actually, if I found one now, I would probably just drive it and hot rod it. And it's again, well, actually, I guess I have owned 3 Fox chassis Fords. It's a neat chassis, and especially because they made so much stuff for the Mustangs that all that suspension components and a lot of the underhood stuff, other really than the interior in terms of like the dashboard and that kind of stuff, it all plug and play. I mean, you can really make an amazing handling car for not a ton of money. And so much of it is interchangeable. It's fun. I'd love to have a notchback again, but I don't have. I'd have to take out a second mortgage. These turbo coupes are still relatively affordable. I saw one not that long ago for $2,500. That some maintenance and some basic things to it, and it probably would have done pretty nice. Well, Pickle with Pickle has washed a lot of cars. I don't doubt that. Now you just have to own some of those cars you washed. That would be helpful. Oh, and Hammer Wrench saying he ran a full service car chain for 20 years. Well, that's cheating then. You washed a lot of cars, but how many of those cars were your cars? And I'm assuming you had other people, like doing the washing with you or for you, because, you don't want to be the only guy doing that stuff. Neat car. I definitely like the way they look. Especially because, the touches of NASCAR because they were NASCARs at that point. Yeah, San Miguel's Mark. Yep. They were I think those were a little longer, but those were also pretty neat. I had a friend in a woman, never owned one myself. Okay, Jim's Fast Attic Garage. We have an 8350 Fox Body Thunderbird. Yep, it's they're a neat car. They definitely have potential, and especially because Mustangs have gotten so expensive. It's made the Thunderbirds, the Fairmonts, the LTDs, the Marquis, even the Caprice to some extent, much more desirable, but also makes them more expensive. Hey, Jackson Center Blocks is here. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, so he hasn't gotten off work yet. Discovered a few sets of blades. Jackson Center Blocks works in some capacity for the wind turbine industry, I believe, if I remember correctly from his live stream. So he gets to travel a lot for that. I'm not exactly sure what he does, so he can probably explain that if he's not stuck working. Auto Savage. When I lived in Florida back when my oldest daughter was 6 months old, I worked at a car wash in PC Port Charlotte, I'm assuming, and washed and detailed O.J. Simpson's car and made a ton of tips for him. Well, it's better to know the juice before he let himself loose, as it were. And now we're coming up to the first project I actually was able to complete, because I had a lot of cars that I wanted to do stuff with, and either work, life, something came up in the middle of it. This is a 99 Wrangler. I should say this was a 99 Wrangler. Bought it stock, lifted it, did everything that you see there I did. A lot of maintenance stuff, a lot of improvement stuff. 3-inch lift, 34-inch super swampers, bias plies. If you've never driven a bias ply tired vehicle, it basically seems like everything's out of balance and your car's going to explode for about the first 5 minutes of driving it until the tires warm up and they bounce back out. They don't have the cords in them the same way still built the radials do, so a little flat spot. That thing I love that Jeep. I never, ever, ever would have sold it. But unfortunately, something came up, which I'll show you in the next slide. But that thing was just a ton of fun. Took it everywhere, did all kinds of fun stuff with it. If you've never gotten in a lifted Jeep and there's no steps on it, it's the only person who could ever do it accurately was my ex-wife, and she was 5'2". She got in like she was getting on a horse because she rode horses as a kid. All my friends who were my height or anywhere near me, they had no concept of how to get into it. You just throw your leg over it and jump in. But it almost became a running joke trying to see who could actually get into the thing. And it wasn't that tall. Much taller than a stock one, but not that much taller than normal. Now, Jackson Center Blocks, I had 3 VWs, still have 2. And parts of the third, 3 Toyota Supras, and 2 parts from 2 of the third. Had 2 Ford Rangers, fixed them and sold them. Yeah, you also, I think what actually a big reason I first started following Jackson Center Blocks followed him back, because I think he started following me first, was he has had or has quite a few of the early 80s Toyota trucks, and I've always loved those things, especially the 4x4s. I think that's one of the nicest looking trucks. And I'd love to have one of those too, but then they have gotten ridiculously expensive. Oh, Panama City. My bad. Sorry. There's Port Charlotte, Punta Gorda. It popped in my head automatic was Punta Gorda. It's been so long since I've actually lived in Florida. I forget all the states. Yeah, bias plies can last forever, but it's still rubber. They still rot out, but you still have to be careful with that stuff. It doesn't mean you can't use it, but you definitely want to be careful. And it's almost hard, other than tractor or off-road truck tires. I don't know of anything that is bias ply other than maybe drag radials in certain conditions. But other than that, I don't think any regular car tire is bias ply anymore, unless you're doing like an older Coker or something where it's designed to be like the old tires. If anybody knows, definitely leave a comment because I'd like to know myself. I don't say I've got a lot saying I want me a Jeep with a 4-cylinder. It's good on gas. They're not good on gas. You're just going to dispel you that right now. They are not. They're better if you have a manual transmission, especially up until the TJs. If you bought an early model TJ up, I think until 2001 or 2, they had a 3-speed automatic, so you got bad gas mileage. But 4-liter manual trans and TJ, you will get better gas mileage. You'll still get crap gas mileage, like 15 gallons is about normal for what I get. But yeah, the 4-cylinders, they're too underpowered. Even with better gearing, they're not enough. They have to work so hard to get up and maintain speed that you actually don't get better gas mileage with a 4 in them. Oops, sorry, I'm trying to. You guys are active in the chat tonight, which is great. Yeah, you do, and I think that's what threw everybody off because they tried so hard. They thought they had to get. We're talking about this Jeep again. People thought you had to like jump in, and really you throw your leg in and you just use your leg to put yourself on the seat. You're not trying to pole vault over the car. I had a couple of friends almost fall out trying to get in, which was funny, and funny when I knew they weren't hurt. But yeah, it's sort of like when Dan choked on the water. That was, once I knew he was fine, it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. So, I'm sorry, guys. Hammerwrench is saying being 6'2" and the TJ side steps meant I'd knock the hell out of. Yeah. I've never run side steps on anything. If they're on a vehicle when I buy it, they come off because they make it harder to get into a car, not easier, at least for me. I was 6'2". I'm only 6 foot now. But no, I just get in. I always found, especially living in the north, if you leave steps on, all they do is collect snow, dirt, and gunk. So when you get out of the vehicle, if you're not paying attention, you coat the entire back of your legs and pants in snow and crap. So the first thing I do is take side steps off. I'm not a side step fan. Never have been. Neverboard S10 said bought the same feeling as getting in my old white S10. Yeah, he's got a lifted S10. I'm trying to follow here, and I'm just slammed with all my stupidity that I'm doing on things. Had to pick one leg up over the roll cage before. Yeah, experienced a little bit of the roll cage stuff, but never with a lifted vehicle. But it was hard enough getting down into some of the stuff that we built. Bear Rose is saying he has a full cage lifted CJ5. Once you're in, you don't want to get back out. Yeah, it's not as bad with the getting out is easier, at least in these when it was just lifted, because you just sort of put your legs out the side and just slide on out. I can imagine with a cage, things are much more complicated, like a Neverboard was saying. Let's see real quick here. Hammers was saying no leg room and scorching floorboards. I think he's talking about is TJ. I never had an immense amount of problem. I think I'm about mid-length leg and torso. I've always had more problem with headroom than leg room. I never had too much trouble. They do, if you ever buy another one, they make a kit that lets you put brackets in so you can get about another 2 inches of the seat moving backwards. So it gives you a little more room if you're big. But that's the one nice thing about TJs. There's no, unless you're a monster, that you got headroom for days, especially when you take the top off. You can only run bias ply tires one way. To the best of my knowledge, no. Those on that TJ were 34-inch swampers, and they were biased. They were not directional, technically. Unless there's something I don't know, which is possible. As far as I know, that's not accurate, unless they're a directional tire. Jim saying so I was hurt. Yeah, maybe you guys are right, and I just didn't know any better. But as far as I know, it wasn't. I don't remember anything on those tires being mentioning anything about being directional. And I could be wrong. I don't really know. I'm assuming that ASO or Hammer Wrenchers was finding the ASO that just go over the straight six and baby. Yeah, you can get for what it is. I mean, a Wrangler at the end of the day is a brick with a sail on it. It's not aerodynamic. None of them are. They're not meant to be. So if you're looking for good gas mileage with one, you're not going to do super great. They actually, at least in my experience, I tend to get better mileage in the city than on the highway. Jackson Cinderlock said 165 Mustang still have it. He's got a Mercury Topaz, Mitsubishi Eclipse when he's back dealer, and then 81, 82 4x4 Toyotas. Yeah, those are propane trucks. Yeah, I absolutely love those solid axle Toyotas. I don't even know if I would have fit in one. I might fit in one now that I'm a little shorter. That was the one thing that always kind of kept me off. And other than finding one and being able to afford it. He also has an 86 4Runner and 86 Sunraider sold. Sunraider. I'm not. That sounds familiar, but I'm not sure what that one is. Chevy Trailblazer. Yep. You've had a lot of cars, my friend. Let's see. And Barrow's Baja Claws are unidirectional, but it's because the chevrons. So it really, as far as I knew, it was tread pattern based more than radial or non-radial construction. But again, I might be off. I'm not 100% sure. Neverboard, I had bias ply 35s in my lifted 02 730 Super Duty, and they used to bounce the first couple miles too. Yep, no, that's they would technically flat spot. Like every morning, I'd come out to that thing, and I knew for the first until the tires warmed up. First 3, 4, 5 minutes, it felt like they were out of balance because until everything straightens out and everything pops back up and it becomes uniform again, then that's why they do it, because they don't have the radial. Part of why they still belted radials is that the way that they interlock the belts. If you look at an exploded diagram or anything, it makes it so the tire holds its shape better, and the bias plies tend not to. Now, like Pickle said, they will last about forever. But they're not. They also wear out quicker because of the compounds in most of them, at least in the 4x4 stuff. Oh, sorry. Michigan Made Muscle Cars, thanks for dropping by. So we had Thumper in here before. I don't know if he's still in here, but he's in the UP as well. Michigan Muscle Cars is in northern Michigan. Welcome by. I don't know if that means he's in northern Michigan or northern Michigan, because again, that's the universal sign of I live in Michigan. Is the hand. Jack Sands says that you've had a very large amount of cars, my friend. He's had a 90s Honda as well. He's had a large amount of cars. There was saying Neverboard S10 Act. I had bias ply on my 1-ton Chevy of mine, and they do that as well. Yep, that's what I was saying. Basically, it's just warm them up. Oh, Jackson Cinderblock said he said 17 vehicles and still has 11. That's actually impressive, because not been that lucky up until the fleet I have now. I ended up burning through most, but hell, I have 5 cars right now, and I bought 8 in the last 2 years, and I ended up parting out 3 of them. The one 2-door Cherokee, the other Comanche I bought, and 94 YJ, and they're all on the channel if you guys want to see that stuff. Well, LNA, how's everybody? Excuse me. LNA, how's it going? I think I will throw this up there for anybody who wants to come in. And we'll throw that up there. Feel free to come in. I assume it might be like most of the streams where Right about the time I'm ready to be done, everybody will jump on, but that is fine as well. Well, I guess I think we did speak about this before. Michigan Made Muscle Cars. I'm in his old area. I'm in Harrison Township, which is a little town, 25 minutes north of Detroit. Because everything is, Michigan is Detroit for most people. And Jackson Zerbox saying, "No wonder my wife keeps telling me no new project." Well, yeah, if you keep them that long, yeah, she might not want any more stuff. And well, Ellen, you are in the South, so the fact that you have 20 cars in your yard isn't that surprising. I think that's a life goal. I think that was my life goal when I lived down there. Oh, and Jack Sands of Center Blocks has a. I don't know if anybody was able to tune into his live stream on Sunday. I believe he's doing one tomorrow as well on his channel. He's got a new line of stickers out with one of his project vehicles and some other information on it. So definitely go check him out. Oh, Michigan Made Muscle Car. He's in Bay City. That's actually my family had a business up there, up in Caseville, and we lived in Bay City when I was like 2. So I really don't remember the area, but I'm definitely a fan of the thumb. Elaine is saying he's what you call a carport. Yeah, and there is there is a remedy for that. Thank you, Fee. So I think we will move on before it gets too crazy. Actually, well, it ties in with the next car, which is going to be sort of hard to see, unfortunately, because it's the only photo I have of it. I bought this '89 Firebird Formula for another $500 car, $500 when I was redoing my TJ. As I was doing it at a friend's house, I was still in between at that point. I lost my first house and I ended up moving back with my mom. And that car was a basket case, but it was a $500 car, but it was nice. And I always wanted a Firebird. I do prefer the formulas. Not as big on Trans Ams. I've never been real huge on body kits. It's very rare that I like a car with body kits. If you want to lay down. But that is the only photo I still have of that car. It was not in horrible shape. I mean, it was a $500 car. Don't get me wrong, but I always thought they were cool. And I'm a kid of the '80s. I always liked Knight Rider. So Jackson Cinderbox keeps telling his wife, "I can't sell the cars. I need my channel to take off and help me pay for the car parts." That is true. It doesn't hurt to sell a car and use that money from the proceeds to fund the other projects, which could then entail you buying better cars because you got more viewers. It's self-feeding. Excuse me. Once you hit a certain level, I think it actually becomes self-feeding. Excuse me. Oops, sorry guys, it's moving fast enough. I keep picking the wrong ones. Thank you very much for dropping by. Mater does a live stream on his channel on Monday and Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. I think they're in Texas, so it would be 7 Central. Not that it really matters, but for time-wise. I greatly appreciate you dropping by, Mater. Thank you so much. Thank you for the sticker shout-out video as well, my friend. I appreciate the sticker exchange. Jackson and Center Blocks, go buy a Hellcat and you will have 100,000 subs in 3 days. I don't know how true that is anymore, Auto Salvage Outlaws, but he if he sold all his cars, he could probably buy one Hellcat. I mean, of course, then eventually people stop watching because all you have is one Hellcat. And New Guys Garage, thank you for dropping by, sir. That is Dan. For those of you who don't know him, his brother, New Guy's Guitar, is Tom. If you need music for your videos and you don't want to deal with any copyright issues, feel free to go on New Guy's Guitar's channel. If you like some of his original music, hit them up. I believe you have to email Dan. I think you can probably put the link in here if you'd like to. And that'll give you copyright-free music that you can use on your channel without any issues. Just make sure that you mention a New Guy's Guitar in the description, and I always put it in the end of my videos. I've been using exclusively Tom's music for about 2.5 months now. I like his stuff. It's very good. That hood scoop looks like a floor hump for a 72 Chevy truck. No, that is a Firebird hood scoop, Bear Rose. I like Pontiacs and Jeeps and pretty much anything else with wheels, but that was a plan for that vehicle. It still is a plan for something. Unfortunately, that hood scoop isn't fared that well, and to get an original one again, any sort of shape that isn't as bad as that is, that people are asking like $1,000 for them, and I'm not doing that for something I'm just going to cut up. So I'll end up learning how to do fiberglass work and fix it. The back lip broke off, unfortunately, when I had it in storage. No, that hood scoop would have looked sweet. I'd done some Photoshop work with it. Dan's an expert in Photoshop, but I think it would have looked good. I think I liked the idea. It would have been nice to have, and especially with being rear facing, would have been better for off road stuff. Just let me catch up on the stream. Welcome. Good Lord. I'm sorry, guys. I keep the chat's moving fast enough. I keep wanting to click on people, and I get it like in between the comments. So, Breezy's Bike Shop, thank you for dropping by. Dan said he thought I started at 7 Central Time. No, you are in Central Time, my friend. I am in Eastern Time, so I'm an hour ahead of you. And I figured I wanted to, like I think I probably said before, I wanted to try to start before Bear Rose, who starts at 8 in my time zone. And then there's someone else that does one as well. There's a couple different. I'm trying not to step on anybody's toes too hard, but I do appreciate you dropping by. And besides, I threw the link up for the if you want to come in, but I figured you'll wait until like 2 minutes before I'm gonna turn off the stream. What kind of cars are in the back? Sorry, if I don't know if I described it well enough. That red car in the back in this photo, it's the only photo I had of that car. It's an 89 Firebird Formula. I bought it for $500, and I drove it while I was lifting my TJ at my buddy's house. So it gave me a car because I was working a lot, and I was only able to go over to his house for 2-3 hours a night. And it took about 2 weeks to get that thing all the way lifted because I replaced everything. It was new brakes, new steering components, new shocks, everything that could be fixed or upgraded. I did it because I'm one of those weirdos who, if I lift a car or lower a car, the brakes get done, all the ball joints, any wear item that I can replace that has any type of possible issue or could become impacted by the bigger tires or harder cornering abilities, I try to repair it before it becomes a problem. I think I have lost. Sorry, guys. I do apologize. Yep. Yes, Fire Chicken. Yes, that is a Fire Chicken. I am partial to Pontiacs, Jeeps, AMCs, Chevys, Fords, Dodges, most British cars, most Japanese cars. I actually even like some Russian cars. So I pretty much, if it's got wheels and it can be made cool, I'm probably going to go after it. And unfortunately, this was what happened to my white TJ. Didn't end so well. This was not savable. Bent the frame, broke the engine, broke the transmission. It was not fun. I had a head-on collision with a S10, and thankfully I was tall enough and he was small enough that we didn't hurt each other. We both ended up going to the hospital, but it was scuffs, bruises, and bruised egos. But this thing was total. It was bad. I went to I'd never been in it was the first real car wreck I'd ever been in. And I went I was going to move the car. I didn't know how bad it was. I'd also knocked my glasses off and I couldn't see. My vision was extremely bad then. I couldn't see anything without my glasses on. And I went to put it in gear and try to move it, and I grabbed the stick, and I almost could basically pull the stick right out of the transmission. It literally just broke everything in the drivetrain. It bent the frame, and it wasn't fun. They set our combined speed because I was at a turn lane and he was going straight, and I didn't see him. And as far as I knew, the light that I was at, I had the right of way. Apparently, that wasn't the way it worked out. The light that I was at changed depending on traffic, and I didn't know that at the time. So we saw each other, and he went this way, and I went this way, and so it's combined speed of about 70. I would not have gotten rid of that Jeep. I loved that thing. That was the first project of my own that I actually was able to complete. I worked in the automotive industry until about that time I started working military stuff. And I built custom cars and special stuff all the time. I never got a chance to do anything for myself. So I loved that Jeep. I owed nothing on it. It was in 09, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, or 08. I just got my first house with my ex, and they paid me out $9,500 for that thing. Wasn't enough to buy a new one or one in decent shape, but it was a lot of money for a used car. I don't know of anybody that has an older vehicle that they get a decent amount of return on their investment if something bad happens, but it messed up my car insurance rates for a solid 2.5 years after that. I never had a speeding ticket. I mean, I don't. It's not that I don't speed, but I try not to drive like an idiot. So, catch back up on the chat here. TJ has a stank face. There's a lot of things that stunk about that thing. That sucked. I put a Banks header on it, and unfortunately, I got a bad original one, and it broke. And so it was laid up for about 6 months. They sent me a new header. I'd only put the header back on and gotten it back on the road. I've been on the road for about 3 weeks. And then, so yeah, I missed that thing. That's probably the same basic style that my red TJ will be going with. I like about a 3-inch lift, 33, 34-inch tires, tall skinnies. Not a wide tire guy, not a humongous lift guy, just functional. I down for eating. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up here, guys. Yeah, I am sorry. I think I missed some stuff here. The chat's going by fast enough. I am missing stuff. So I do apologize. I'm trying to catch up to everybody. Barrows is saying Jeeps and Harley Davidsons, you rarely take a bath when reselling them. No, and I was actually very surprised that they paid me what they paid me for it, because it had some rust starting, but that's kind of Jeeps in Michigan in general. But it had right about 100,000 miles, but $9,500 was a humongous amount of money for that thing, at least in my head. Now, granted, that was probably about what I could have sold it for, but I don't know of anybody that has an 11, 12-year-old car at the time. Or 10-year-old car at the time that could get a very nice payout for a wreck. So I'm not sure what you guys are yammering on back and forth about, but I think so I'm assuming you're not talking about Riker like is in Star Trek Riker. So if you guys can fill me in, I don't want to try to track through everything and get in any more boring for anybody that might already be. So, and then we come to my Malaise era. I can't complain too much because this car was free. Got it from my ex-father-in-law. And I did a lot of work with the Focuses when I was at McLaren, so I knew the platform pretty well. And it's a basically good commuter car. There's nothing wrong with them. The only problem was this ran me back into Ford's automatic transmissions, which I'll never do again. Because this thing had a bad shift solenoid, and I had it replaced because I'm not messing with autos. I know I was certified in it. Not my fun, not my cup of tea, not what I want to do. But it would randomly go out. So I would be at a stoplight, and it would be stuck in third gear, and then all of a sudden you'd start creeping and banging to reverse. It wasn't shifting wrong. The solenoid itself wasn't functioning correctly, and nobody could seem to fix it. And that is dangerous when you're in traffic and trying to get out of everybody else's way. Okay, thank you. Yep, sorry guys, I am lost with what you're talking about. But Turbo Tom 416, thanks for dropping by. We are talking about cars I've owned, cars you guys have owned, and feel free to let us know if you've owned something that I've owned or what you've had that you really liked or disliked, and we will try to work them into the show. If I don't have a dog smash a water bottle into my face. Oop. Sorry, I thought I turned those off. Oh, Hammerich is saying that Riker is his middle son. Well, I'm assuming you have 3 then, which congratulations, sir. James Fastback, off subject, Scott, are you seeing all the smoky looking air up where you are? No, I'm assuming that apparently there's some kind of massive fire north of me at some point this week. One of my friends had mentioned it. I have not seen anything. I don't know if Michigan Made or Michigan Muscle or Neverboard F10 are still in the chat. But they're north of me in Michigan, so I don't know if it's affecting them or not. I have not seen anything in my area, but apparently it wafted down this way. Excuse me. Pickle's saying he can't believe the amount of cars I've owned. Now, this is, trust me, Pickle, there are people in here that have owned a lot more than I have, and it's part of being a car person. You find your way into cars and finding new cars, more cars, and like until I got that white Jeep, I'd never really been able to finish a project. I never really honestly never been able to start on one. And I was always, like I said, I was working on them all the time, but never get them done for myself. Auto Saljala saying Focus. Oh hell no, 2010 up junk and junk when they sold them. I don't know that much about them, to be honest with you, my friends. I know that these were. I know a lot about these cars from all the stuff we did, development stuff, and all the show car work at McLaren. But basically a solid car. I mean, they weren't bad. They weren't fast, but they weren't bad. The next one I had, which you'll see later, was a 5-speed, and I drove that thing like it was a rally car. I gave that thing no quarter. I beat the living hell out of that thing, and it was just quick enough with the manual trans that I could. It might as well have been a hot rod, at least from the way I drove it. Don't still sell between 10 and 7. Always doing something. I don't stay still between 10 and 7. Always doing something. So I'm assuming that means when you're up and about. Oh. And Slimo, what's going on? And Slimo's saying he had to surf, so he's just come by. Because I think it's technically like 8 or 9 in the morning. Slimo's in Australia, so he's on the other side of the planet right now. Neverboard saying cloudy skies in West Michigan. I don't think it's smoke, but not sure. Been in a drought for the month. Supposed to rain. Yeah. From what I heard, I don't know for sure because a friend just told me in passing. There was a wildfire, or someone had set up like explosives or fireworks, and it went into a field or something and caught and just went crazy. But I'm not 100% sure. I just don't have the facts on it. And Turbo Tom's saying that smoke has been in Ohio for the last 4 days. Yeah, so it must have been bad. I must be in a area where I just didn't see it or didn't come my way. I'm right by the water where I'm at, and I get a hell of a breeze. So unless it wouldn't stick. I might not see it because it might not stick around. The only thing that we get that sticks is fog. It gets extremely foggy by the water here in the cloud mornings. Jim's Fastback Rush saying it's in Indiana too, so it must. I must have totally missed it. So I'll have to check tonight and see what actually happened because I'm not 100% sure what's going on with it. Oh, sorry guys, I'm trying to. Oh, there we go. I have not used this feature in this way. So when I wrecked my Jeep, I was unable to find a replacement for it. It's what I would have preferred. But what I ended up doing, I had a buddy that I worked with the military stuff, and he had a 93 California Cable Company service truck, and it was a D250 318 NV4500 5-speed, lifted on 35s. He ended up painting it gray, which is only I wish he'd left it white, but he brought it out from California up to here, and that truck was sweet. I really liked it. I ended up not being able to keep it too long, just the way things worked out. It did ride like a buckboard, which I was too used to coil springs, and that thing, it should shake the fillings out of your head, but it was a fun truck. People tended to get out of your way because it was huge. Very neat truck, very clean, especially considering where I'm in a Rust Belt and 100% California truck. But I would love to have another Dodge at some point. I think I'd rather have a 70s. Actually, something like Doug's Wolverine Garage. He's building a kind of a hodgepodge Dodge. Good name for that, hodgepodge Dodge, where it's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Everything from the 70s to the 90s is a shop truck. Oh, and Slimo was saying it's 10 a.m. on Mitchell's Island. That's where he must be in Australia. And just as a regular thing, I'm one of those weirdos who likes manual transmissions, and pretty much anything I'll buy, I tend to never buy anything anymore if it isn't a manual. I mean, the exception with the Cherokees, because you just can't find them in manuals. It's very, very hard. I'll likely swap it at some point if I keep the green one. And the Chambler right now is a Cherokee automatic. The Aisin transmissions, AISIN. I'm not exactly 100%. I've heard it pronounced too many different ways. It's one of the better transmissions, automatic wise, at least that I've run into. And the Chandler, the first chance I get to find the pedals and a trans for that thing, it's going 5-speed, which probably won't be anytime soon, but that will be the goal. Oh, hey, Does Nothing Special. How you doing? We're talking cars, and pretty much whatever anybody else comes up with. Would love to have a lifted short box Dodge. I think I would probably do. I want a short box. I agree with you on that one, but I think I'd actually want a lowered one. I kind of run back and forth. I prefer 4x4 over lifted stuff, but I do still like a nice lowered slam truck. And my days of wrenching on extremely large vehicles are pretty much over with all the damage to my body. So I'm kind of got to play it by ear. A 2-wheel drive truck might just be close enough. We'll see. I wouldn't pass up a 4x4 though. I definitely would not. They're so hard to find replacement parts for, because so many of the companies don't make them, and a lot of the stuff Dodge wise it didn't survive plastics and stuff under dash and under hood. So if I can find a nice one, I definitely would be interested. Oop, picked the wrong one. Oops, sorry. And ASO saying he likes 70s Dodge trucks. I like them. I mean, I don't. There isn't really a 70s truck I don't like. I wouldn't mind a square body Chevy. I think those definitely have some, but I also like the Fords, and that's, well, Uncle Jesse and Dukes of Hazzard always had that mid-70s Ford, and that's, you know what, my 85 was as close to me having an Uncle Jesse truck as I'm probably going to get anytime soon. So I almost said he fell in love with automatic transmissions for soft sand driving. The stuff I've done, we have Silver Lake Sand Dunes is in Michigan. It's in this side of the state for all those playing at home. That's up by Mears, and I'd rather have a stick. I know it's one of those things where I like it. I prefer the way they feel, but I can see the advantage of an automatic in sand, especially if you just want to gun it and go. James said he'll keep his eye out for 5-speed parts for me. I would appreciate it, sir. Unfortunately, the weird thing is apparently I got to learn this fun stuff, because I have a pedal assembly from my two-wheel drive Comanche I parted out. But when they switched in 96 to 97, when they switched the styling of the Cherokees, didn't really switch much. They switched the way the dash mounts and the way the pedal assembly works. So apparently I have to find a 97 to 2001 pedal assembly. And likely I would also need a 97 and up transmission, because of the way that they talk to the ignition system and the distributorless system that they used on those vehicles. I'm not 100% sure on that yet, though. Well, we've been graced with Buffett again. Bus Garage, thank you, sir. I'll have my Brian Vantana's sibling video up probably early next week. I found a short bed or short wide GMC like Buff's Brian Vantana, but it's a GMC, and it has basically looks like a bearskin rug covering the dash. So that short will be out likely next week, because I'm 2 car shows behind, even though I'm still putting out 2 to 3 videos a day for the car show stuff. But thank you for dropping by, sir. Yep, Buffalator, and well, that's what I call Hammer Time is Hammer Ranch is Hammer Time as well. We will move on to you've already missed the only Pontiac I've owned, my friend. Where am I? And the next vehicle, a 2009 Nissan Altima. It was a lease. You got to cut me some slack on that one. For $200 a month, I drove that thing like a race car, just like I did with my other Focus you'll see in a bit. Wasn't extremely fast, but it was 180 horsepower for a car that was comfortable. Did have CVT transmission, which I never would have kept that anyway, because the Nissan CVTs don't have the best reputation. It was comfortable, and it was quick. Was not fast by any means, but it was a good daily transportation. And Buff saying he's got to sell his current Scape first. Oh, I'm sorry, Cityscape first. Yep. Buff is currently looking for a new place to call Buff's Garage home. I think he just put out a video which I just started watching before I watched this, where he's taking requests. If you have a cool place to live and you think he should come live there, let him know. Definitely check out his videos. He's having some trouble with his city. They don't like his cars, which is kind of a problem if you're a car person, and it's equally a problem if you do what we do, which is YouTube car content. Sorry, it keeps moving, which I'm very glad the chat's moving, which means everybody's having a good time. It just makes it hard for me to track it. That's why I named the kitchen destruction video that. Oh, the Buffalo, yes. And Hammer Wrench just bought a new house. Correct me if I'm wrong here, sir. And you are redoing and upgrading the new place that you bought. And I think you said it was in a bunch of acres. So it's like the Hammer Wrench reservation or plain. I'm lost for words on that one. Sorry, guys. The movies, yeah. Buff has gone into dire straits mode. We've got to move these refrigerators, got to move these color TVs. Yes. Some of you might have no idea what that is, like Pickle. Dire Straits was banned in the 80s, well, 70s and 80s, and they were extremely popular, and they had the song that had those lyrics in it, and it was extremely popular. And Buff said he's mostly packed. He's just looking for a new place to rest his head in his Fleeto cars. And Hammerich is saying, Vidalia, Georgia, they don't care what you have if you aren't in the city. Now, there are. I wouldn't mind going back to North Carolina. I lived in North Carolina for a very short period of time. Very pretty. I lived in the area, actually in Murphy, North Carolina, which is right where Tennessee, Georgia, and North Carolina meet. Very pretty area. The Smoky Mountains are extremely beautiful. It does take some getting used to driving through mountains to that degree, because it's sheer rock face, 2 lanes, sheer rock face, semis coming the other way. It definitely it took a little bit. Oh, I'm sorry. That's the Hammer Ranch. Thank you. That's what he's calling his new homestead. Oh, hey, Pickle doesn't know who Dale Earnhardt is, but he does know who Dire Straits is. So I will throw the link up again. If anybody's feeling like jumping in, please do. Yeah, this car was fun. It was a lot of fun to drive. Nothing special to write home about, but it did its job, and that was just being a car. And then I had a 2000 two-door Ford Explorer. Bought that when I bought the house that I'm in now. I needed something because my Altima lease was going up, and I needed something that I could at least haul some things in, and was cheap. It was about $1,800. Did what I needed it to. I owned it for about 8 months, and just drove it and I had to do 1 or 2 little repairs, like the door panel or the door mechanism stopped working. The seat started poking through, so I put a new seatbelt on, but nothing to write home about. Just simply, just simply a car. The Explorers were pretty decent vehicles. Oh, and we have Hello, sir.
How does he not know who Dale Earnhardt is?
Well, neither does Dan from New Guys Garage. So they don't like car racing and sports and stuff, and I can understand that. I mean, you can only watch hillbillies turn left so many times, but these are just important things to know and tell.
I'm just saying that's one of those where you have to watch to know who it is. Do they know? Uh-oh. I'm lost.
You getting pulled over there, Buff? No, I should still hear you, bud.
All right. So, do they know Jeff Gordon?
No, they don't know. No, I doubt it. They don't know. They didn't know who Richard Petty was.
How about Ricky Bobby? Did they know Ricky Bobby?
That possibly. Although
he's
Dan
the
is
best
a real big
there
fan
ever
of movies.
Was. I mean.
Well, yeah, he doesn't know what to do with his hands. So.
He wakes up in the morning and he pisses excellent. So I mean, he's the one.
That is true. And he likes his Jesus, baby Jesus, which is important.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and Jack Sands Cinderblocks on the phone, the last leg of his trip home. Jack Sands Cinderblocks does work for wind turbines, and I believe he's out on a call. He sounds like he goes around the country repairing those big spinny bladed things.
Well, it's hot here in Kansas, so if you turn them on a little bit so we can get some air, that'd be great.
I don't know if he's there yet, but I'll let him know.
I mean, we have enough wind as it is, but it's a little warm today.
Well, and yeah, most people do agree with you that the fact that people don't know who Dale Earnhardt is, or Richard Petty, those are fighting words. We've had people threaten to sticker bomb other people's cars at No Name Nationals because of not knowing who these people are. Oh, and Buck's in the hello, Buck. Thanks for dropping by, my friend. And LNA said, that's what I told him. They know zero NASCAR, only Petty. I don't even think they know who Petty was. Very strange. LNA just made his 500 last week, so he will be going to the No Name Nationals.
Awesome.
And 38 POS just made his last week as well.
Very cool.
Then we get to my second Ford Focus. Yes, I did own two of them. I owned a 0405. But it was a manual, and I did drive that thing like it was a rally car. There was no highway on-ramp I didn't squeal tires on. I could at least pretend it was fast because at least with the manual transmission, I could get the hell out of everybody else's way.
Right.
That was actually the second time I worked for Roush. I lived where I am now, and Roush was about 50 miles one way. So I needed something I could just drive a lot of highway miles with and not rack up a ton of dollars, and that was what I got. So. Come on, Max. They're not bad cars, though. They're fun to work on. It's the same basic platform I worked on. Did the crazy stuff with McLaren. So.
I had a 90s Ford Escort for a little while somebody gave to me. And that thing, if the little skinny tires on it, it cut through the snow really well. I liked it.
No, they weren't bad cars for that stuff. At least I might fit in them now. But my friend had a two-door one, and I went with her one time, and I looked like I was in a clown car. I didn't fit in the damn thing. And let's see what Slimo is saying here. And I keep grabbing the chat's going by so fast. I keep grabbing the wrong comments, which is great because everybody's engaging, which is awesome. Yes. He's saying he bought a factory right-hand drive 64 Plymouth Parisienne and saw the odometer do a full row of 404 metrics.
Oh, wow.
Mine hasn't gone around yet. No, and that is the proper way to say Parisienne. Mm-hmm. I know that some people have trouble saying that. So.
Me.
And New Guys, let's see what New Guys has to say here. If they do more than turn left, they might have been important to know about. You didn't know who David Vizard was, an actual important person. No, I read books by David Vizard. I get that point, but at the same point, I read the books. I didn't know who the hell he was. I liked the books. Wasn't a memorable enough guy to remind me, but you not knowing who Dale is a little weird. Just throwing it out there. Even if you don't, I haven't watched NASCAR in 20 years. if not more. But I still don't know who freaking Dale is. I still know who Richard Petty is. Rattle off the list of most of the guys from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and I probably know them. That I don't. What else? I think he's forgetting is that whole mantra: race on Sunday, sell on Monday. That the cars drove car sales. They drove, at least for a long time, what you bought because you had to homologate. So that kept sports cars and cool cars and the ability of people to buy them up until the 80s when it became whatever. Just throw it in there. And Buck is doing bucking great because everything requires some type of buck-based reference to another bucking word. Oh, and Hammer said a 96 Probe GT was a fun car. I've actually always wanted one of those Ford Probe GTs. They're a neat looking car. They're actually supposed to be the replacement for the Mustang, believe it or not. The Ford Probe was actually supposed to be what replaced the Mustang because they were going to go front wheel drive. No, up. Looks like Buff is buying a building.
Did you see the car?
Not really. Let me try to get you full screen here. If I can do that. Oh, just barely. An old Buick or?
It's some kind of Mopar.
Ah, well, that's most of our fans are Mopar fans, so.
And it's been sitting a long, long time. I just drove by and saw it again today and thought, see if anybody else liked it.
No.
And it's one of those that he knows what he's got. He's never going to get rid of it. He's going to fix it someday.
You just need to start driving the Brian Van Tanner around with the Brian Trailer Tanner or something.
I don't think this engine's going to trailer much until it gets turbo, but then the transmission's going to go out, so.
Yeah, it damns you, damned if you don't. Yeah, those probes were neat. They were basically based off the Mazda MX-6, so you can get them in 6-cylinder, 5-speed. They were quick, not fast, but damn quick.
And does everyone know what the Probe was supposed to be?
Yeah, it's supposed to be the replacement for the Mustang.
Yeah. And then they went, oops, nobody wants that.
Yeah, I guess I didn't learn from the Mustang 2 debacle that people really weren't into even smaller Mustang, even though the Mustang 2 is the same size as the Fox, technically.
Well, Chevrolet and Pontiac figured it out because even though they were going the front-wheel drive route, they saw what happened to the Ford Mustang / Probe, and they put the brakes on real quick. Said, okay, we'll keep it rear-wheel drive.
Yeah. And Pickle does agree with Dan that they don't like these left-turning Neanderthal guys driving cars. So, I mean, I understand Pickle's only 18, so I do get that, it's not really a Pickles era.
I mean, let's be real, and I'm sure this will probably upset some people, but I don't watch professional sports like football, basketball, even baseball. I mean, I just have no real interest in it. I could probably sit down and watch a ball game and I would enjoy it, but I'm not gonna watch it on TV. I could go in person maybe.
Well, no, I haven't watched. I'm not even a real monstrous fan of racing on TV. If I'm going to do it, I want to go to a track and watch it. I don't really have any interest in sitting and watching it, and it's even more so now with doing all this YouTube crap. I don't have any time. Oh, and Slimo's saying a true car guy will also know who Peter Brock is, an Aussie legend. Yep. And I also know who Bruce McLaren is because he was technically a Kiwi, but that's. Landon's Custom Classics is in here. Hello, sir. Thank you for dropping by. We're talking cars and craziness.
Cousin Mike.
I'm sorry?
That's Cousin Mike.
Yep. And Bear Rose or at least was in here before. I'm not sure if he still is or not. The link is up in the comments. If anybody would like to join in, please feel free to do so. Hammerich is saying he only watches college football. Apparently, he's a Clemson fan. never bored as an addict. I'll watch the Super Bowl. Otherwise, it's better have a motor in it or it isn't a sport. I agree with that. And Lana's saying watching other men play sports is only okay if you are married to them. Okay. Never thought of it that way, but you do you, my friend.
Are we back to Ricky Bobby, some John Gerard stuff?
It's possible. Yeah, you're going to have to eat crepes or it'll break your arm. I'm not real sure.
Yeah.
Jack saying, Cinderlock saying, we stripped the entire turbo system off of a full harness, ECU injector, intercooler, etc. Brought it, sold it on eBay, and made good money. So I think he's talking about he's converting one of his trucks to a 6.8, the GM diesel, the modern GM diesel. I can't remember the 6.8 or 6.4. I can't remember the number. And we'll get rid of that and go back to something that'll probably make everybody in the chat mad. Yes, I owned a Subaru.
Why would that make him mad?
I mean, it's one of those foreign cars.
I mean, Crocodile Dundee liked it, and they were made in the U.S. They had plant in the U.S.
Do they still do? I think it's in Georgia, if I remember correctly. No, when I had that Focus, and I learned I was sick, and I had to have the transplants, and I had to get rid of everything I didn't need, like a car payment. So I bought that for $1,200 and drove it for about a year, and it did just fine.
That's a good deal. That's a good deal.
It went through the snow fine, hauled the dogs around fine, got decent gas mileage. They're actually fun. I worked at a Subaru Mazda dealer at one point, so I was fairly familiar with the platform. And the older ones, the 90s, early 2000s Subarus are extremely easy to work on.
And the wiring is super easy. Like I did a lot of remote starts and stuff like that on the Subarus. Wiring is super simple. Like GM, they fail at the wiring. Subaru got it right. Toyota got it right. And I don't like either one of those brands necessarily, but they're easy to wire.
And you have to get a Subaru with a manual because the autos are not the best. But 2 people can lift the 4 cylinders out of the car. Like they're the boxer motors, and literally you don't need an engine hoist. 2 strong people can just pick the friggin' engine right out of the car. They're that tiny.
That's perfect.
Let's see what we got going on here. Let's see what new guy says. Look, all I'm saying is not all those NASCAR guys were the first ones to put superchargers on an engine or the first to run nitromethane, landmark events, and performance.
All right, fine. All right.
Yeah, I'm not saying he does overly focus on 1 or 2 things from time to time. I'm not saying that isn't, but the idea that I don't discount anybody that's done something cool for cars. And, it's like not saying, do you know who Mickey Thompson is? We can't be friends if you don't know who Mickey Thompson is. I'm sorry. There's some people that, their contributions weren't just motorsports. The stuff that guy did was every form of racing, development work, you name it, he had his fingers in it to one extent or another. There's definitely some people that have done amazing things.
Yep.
And it does sound special saying that Subarus are good in snow. Yes, they are.
Except for Valdez, Alaska snow. They did not do so well there.
Well, were the streets covered in oil too, or?
No, that didn't. No, that was the tanker, not the town.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, no, our town got 30 feet of snow a year, and it's the heavy, wet stuff that even the snow blowers can't blow. So people would come to town and bring their brand new Subarus and just be all excited. And then the first 4 foot of snow came down, and all of a sudden, their Subaru don't go nowhere because they don't have any ground clearance.
Well, that's
all 4 tires spin, but they don't go nowhere.
Does anything go anywhere with 4 feet of snow other than some of those? Ever seen those Greenland vans?
Yes. I had the Chevy Avalanche. I had a GMC 3/4 ton pickup. Even had an Escalade. All of those got around just fine. But these things, they're got good little cars, but they just sit way too low to the ground. So once they get themselves high centered, they're done. Well,
they're not a truck. They're not meant to be. They don't have a transfer case technically. They only have a 1-speed. If it doesn't have a 2-speed at least transfer case, I don't consider it a 4x4. It's just all-wheel drive. And the Subarus do have, they do have problems with head gaskets. You do have to do maintenance on them because if you don't, they won't last. If you do, they tend to be just fine. And they don't like to be hot rodded,
Right.
at least not to an extreme extent. I have a friend with a 2018 WRX, and that thing is a rocket ship, but he just put his second motor in it because they do not like it.
But like you said, you could pick the engine up with two guys and take it out and rebuild it and put it back in. So it's all good.
Yeah, I'll have to see if I can pull one of those up. But those Icelandic Greenland vans, those things are sweet. Those vans on 50-inch tires, and
Yeah, we
those guys
definitely
are
don't need
dedicated.
those for sure. Where I was at.
nobody
But
needs-
if they go further north where it's tundra, yeah, you need that.
Most people are not going to need a van that can basically is a monster truck or just shy of it, but it's still cool to have one.
Oh yeah, we had a couple of them in town. They would take the back roads in the canyon. They don't go anywhere, but they're able to get there.
And okay, what's junkyard? Jackson Cinderlocks is saying we actually got locked into the junkyard. Long story short, the parts were free. Well, yeah, I'm assuming if you could get out of the junkyard, then those parts were probably free.
I'm assuming he means they gave him the parts for free and not that he found a way out and just stole everything. But if he did, whatever. I'm not here to judge.
Could go either way.
I'm not a judge.
As long as the statute of limitations on that story are up, you do it again. Don't suggest it.
Parts for everybody.
Yes, does have a special saying, Subarus with performance exhaust sound like old riding mowers with foul plugs. Well, pretty much anything like that's a small displacement, 4-cylinder, especially when you punch it up real high or put lots of extra boost in it. Yeah, and when you put basically a coffee can muffler on it, they sound like a fart pipe. How is the hunt going for the new digs?
It's going. I mean, I can't say that anything is definite yet. There's several places that I've looked at that seem to fit a lot of my needs and wants. I've found some places fit a little better than others, but of course availability and money and all that. It comes down to, am I willing to pay a little extra to be closer to the action? What I mean by that is motorsports, the car scene. I've got sponsors that are actually in the area of one place I'm looking. They've got a lot of a support network in one area. And then, of course, I can get closer to my friends, which is also good. But do I get closer to them but farther from the things that I actually need access to? And then, of course, I just don't like the fact that I'll probably be moving further away from Dalton at Pole Barn Garage. But if I'm going to go see him, I'm going to make a special trip anyway. And he's about to 100,000 subs, so he's not going to have time for a little old guy like me anyway. But, yeah, it's definitely looking like I'm going south and or east. But I don't know where yet. There's a lot of options open.
Okay. Because you're kind of in the middle between Pole Barn and Irish, right?
No.
No?
Pole Barn's in the middle between me and Irish.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Say I'll drive to Pole Barn, and then Irish drives like 8 hours. I drive like an hour and a half. So for me, it's just an afternoon little jog to go over, and for Jay, it's a whole day to come down.
Gotcha. Yeah, Landon's saying that he and Bear Rose got locked in the classic junkyard at one point.
But Bear Rose is the junkyard dog, so you don't want to scare him.
Yeah. And Jack Sanders Cinderlocks is saying we called the MPs. They said it would be 2 hours to get there. I'm assuming he means for the junkyard. They also acknowledged that the junkyard hadn't followed protocol. They have a sign out sheet. Yeah, so he's saying they must have said, screw it, it's 5 o'clock, we're leaving.
I mean, I don't blame them. Oops, sorry.
It happens. LP94.
Lars is here. Lars is here.
LP94 is in the house. And the thing I have up now is the current vehicle I have. This was I had the transplants and didn't die present to myself. It's an 06 Wrangler. I love this thing. This is probably my keeper, assuming I don't get in another car accident like I did with my last one.
Well, I was just going to ask if you're going to sell it because, I need a running around vehicle. I don't think 11 are enough. I might need another one.
No, I've only got 5, but no, and this thing realistically, it wouldn't leave my possession for less than 15 grand, and they're 12,000 all day long in this shape. So.
Right. No, I've seen a lot of the, especially the older iron CJ5, CJ7. Those are expensive, but then even the 90 stuff, they still want 6,500, 7 grand for rusted out junker.
Yeah, they don't really lose their value within reason. They seem to go to a point and then just stay.
There comes to a point that if they're that bad, all you're really buying is the VIN because you can buy every part on them.
Yeah, you can buy a Jeep and never have actually bought anything, never bought the car.
Right.
Rail 9222 just popped in. Thank you very much for dropping by. I love this thing. I'm actually disappointed because they get really shit views on YouTube.
Yeah, that's surprising.
Cherokees do real well. TJ's not so much, or at least I haven't found the right thing I'm doing to. But yeah, I parted one out. I parted a 98 out. The thing folded in half in the video, and it has like 250 views. You can watch the thing fold in half as I'm picking it up off the frame. It was that badly rusted, and it just, I don't know.
Yeah, YouTube's got a weird algorithm how they get that stuff out in front of people. And so the tags have to be right on point. The thumbnail has to be perfect because a person could be looking up, Jeep videos, and next thing you know, they've skipped yours or the algorithm skipped yours and went to something that had a lot more popularity. Like, somebody jumping one off a cliff is going to get more views than somebody that's scrapping one.
Yeah.
Even though it makes no sense that they're jumping it off a cliff, that's what people want to see.
Oh. Well, it's one of those things. I'm not going to get rid of it, and hopefully it'll. I'm going to still work on it. That's one of my vehicles. I have stuff to do. The Comanches are decently popular enough, and I don't plan on not working on stuff. It's just it would be great if it was more popular. Just be easier to have an excuse to work on it.
Right. They are good for getting sponsors though, because there's a lot of parts out there that'll fit those. And so if you do get a sponsor for like a lighting deal or something, when that does come along, you'll be like, well, I do have this Jeep, and then that's a good excuse to put the parts on. You got a sponsored video. It just works out.
Well, I do have an affiliate deal with Steinjager. They can't sponsor any more builds this year, but I do at least get a discount on the products from them, which is great.
Yeah.
And they make everything. I think I mentioned this before. Actually, they make a lot of stuff for Jeeps. So they make a ton of stuff. There's a couple of different companies in the network. And they make stuff for Pontiacs and Toyotas and pretty much everything but Audis, or everything but Mopars actually.
Yep.
Yeah, and Hammer Wrench, the 6% recycled thing is because of my organs. It's also a play on I'm recycling cars, but I'm technically my liver and kidney are 5.3% of my body, and they're recycled, but 5.3% recycled sounds really stupid, so I went with 6. And Rail 9222 said he has an 03 Wrangler with 74,000 miles. That's nice. Yeah, my 06 has just ticked over 104,000. So nice. I don't drive it through the winter anymore unless I have no choice. And I've got I'm going to put new fenders on it, tailgate, and some other stuff, and then it's probably not going to get lifted this year. It'll probably be next year.
I have Jeep Gladiator rims on the Grand Prix. 2022 Jeep Gladiator takeoffs, brand new. Never had a mile put on them.
They're 5-on-5s? I thought the Pontiacs were the same as the other Chevys that were 5-on-4 3/4.
Nope, not a full-size car.
Okay.
Yeah, I have the big car, not the little car.
Okay. That's why I think I'd ask you about you're asking about wheels on Instagram, because I couldn't remember if it was 5-on-4.5 or 5-on-4 3/4 or 5 for the van.
The van's 5-on-5. Basically Chevy C10, anything like that. And I've found some 10-inch wide stuff, but man, most of that stuff they don't make anymore. So it's vintage, and people want vintage prices for it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's rusty and pitted. I get it, but I don't necessarily need it to look rusty and pitted. I don't mind it being shiny and looking good,
Yeah.
but I'm not paying $800 for a set of rusty and pitted rims just because they're 15 by 10s. I can go get something different, and I will
I got
find
lucky.
something. Something will come along.
Oh yeah, someone. Now that you keep saying it, your phone will know that you're searching for it. So next time you go on Marketplace, they'll be right there.
Oh yeah, Facebook's always listening.
Oh yeah, I got lucky with the ET mags I just bought like 2 weeks ago. They're only 15 by 7s, but they've got that fat pattern on
Yeah,
the wheel spacing, and they're unilugs, so they'll fit anything 5 lug, and they'll easily fit everything I've got's 5 and 4.5, but they'll easily fit on other stuff as well. They look like the Mopar mags from the 70s, those kind of D slot, 5 slot ones with the bigger Ds.
right.
Oh, and Miss Carol's here. Hello, Miss Carol. How you doing? And she asked, porcelain TJ Don C4. No, the red one is an 06 4-liter 6-speed. I did have my first Jeep was actually a 2000. There was a 4-cylinder. That was the 4-cylinder is not really enough for a Wrangler. They do not like it.
Kind of like a V6 and a Brian Van Tannen.
Yeah, the
Does
4 liters
great
are
on
great.
gas, but it does not get up and go.
Yeah, and the 4-cylinders in the Jeep, it's not enough power, and they're like a brick with a sail, so they get worse mileage than the 4-cylinders they do in the 6s.
Right.
But no, those 4.6 the 4 liters in those they'll move it. I mean, you're not going to win any speed contests, but they'll definitely get the heck out of the way, and they've got enough grunt to get you through stuff. And everybody to send. I'm looking for a cheap set of 15 by 8 or 9 on 5 on 5.5 for the S10. Everybody wants a fortune. Yeah, you really do have to kind of look.
Wait a minute. Did he say 5 by 5.5? What did he do?
I think he's probably got Ford. I think he's probably got big either Jeep or Ford axles, the old style.
Okay. That makes a lot more sense. There's a ton of stuff around here on Marketplace for that exact setup. But
the thing I found
for this doesn't exist.
Yeah, the thing I found lately, because the mid '90s Fords, like the one I had up earlier that I had, they're 5 on 5.5, and if you find the right wheels, they're actually made by Alcoa,
right?
And they're 15 by 8s, and they're stupid strong, and they'll fit the old Jeep 5 on 5.5 axles, the Ford 5 on 5.5, the Dodge 5 on 5.5. So if you can find those, the mid '90s, actually, let me pop that back up for them here real quick.
And they'll polish really well, won't they?
They look awesome. They're the best looking wheel from that era. This is what I'm talking about. These were made by Alcoa, and they're the bigger. They don't have those little fake bolt holes on them. They're bigger pattern. The 94, 95, that era, those wheels are sharp, and they still look good on pretty much anything because they're super polished. They almost look chrome. Oh, he's got Scout axles. So yeah, you're all pretty much the same in that era because they're all Dana 44 and maybe now they're anywhere there of that era. Miss Carol saying the 4.0 and the NSG 370 is not a bad combo. That's the transmission, in mind the 6-speed. They still technically use it in the newest Jeeps as well. Well, you could do this. You could get a Hutchinson B-Locks for your van. They're about $800 a wheel.
I don't think that makes sense for the whole theme of I'm cheap and I don't like to spend money.
Well, you could just rattle can them. You'd never know.
I mean, we're gonna tractor paint the whole van, so right? Some luxurious gold rattle can would look good.
So you're gonna do a pole barn special on the van?
Pole barn's gonna help me do it, yeah. As long as him and Junkyard Dicks quit playing for just a bit this summer. He was supposed to be gone for like a week, and they've been gone for 2 weeks.
Yeah, the Hutchinson makes wheels for the military, and they're beadlocks. They're extremely expensive, but they're worth it. They're not the weird ones. A lot of times they bolt together in the middle, so you don't have that outer ring that can deform. And yeah, that she's got some seriously nice wheels on her CJ. JKs carry the NGV. Okay, so the JK Jeeps carry the NGV 370, but the JL has an AL6. So it must be newer trans. Yeah, and then we come to the thing I got just before the channel. I wanted this for my winter beater. It's a 94 Wrangler YJ. I did get the entire Jeep. It doesn't look like it. That's the way I got it in the shape I got it in. I got 2 sets of doors, hard top, 2 soft tops, fenders. Guy had a very extreme stereo system in it that had basically rotted because it had been sitting in his backyard for 5 years.
Well, there you go. That's your priority right there. You got to have stereo before you have fenders.
Well, it was $1,400, and I wanted to use it as a winter car, like I said, but it was just the motor was cheesed, the interior was gone, the body was gone, and the frame was gone. So I ended up just parting it out. I made double my money parting it out, so, which was nice. But I've always wanted a YJ, and just didn't work out quite that well. But it lives on in many a vehicle. That is a 94, Miss Carol. Yeah, unfortunately, it was just too darn bad to do stuff with. Oh, we got another coming in. Please welcome Jackson and Center Blocks of the stream.
Hey guys.
Hello.
Yep. How you doing, sir?
I wanted to clarify the story from earlier.
Oh, about the junkyard?
Yes. That was over in Germany. We were pulling parts from the Ford Probe GTs and the Mazda, 323 counterpart that had the same engine and turbo?
Yep, 323 MX6.
We have an echo. All right, so we pulled the parts from the Mazda 323s and Ford Probe GTs. We did get locked in the junkyard. They acknowledged that the junkyard didn't follow protocol and told us to take our parts and get the heck out of there, which we later sold those parts on eBay.
Nice.
That always works.
I got tag oil in my eyes at work today. That's the oil for your AC compressor.
Yeah.
So my face is probably a little puffy and red still.
Yeah, that's as bad as getting coolant in your eyeballs. Yeah, Tickle is saying hi to you, sir. Miss Carol said she's owned a Willys, CJ7, TJ, XJ, JK, KJ, JK, and she still has her CJ. So she's had the whole family. I think, I don't know if we just lost him or he took off. If you dropped out, you're more than welcome to come back in, my friend. If you had to leave, have a good night. Yeah, I've owned TJ's, YJ, XJ, MJ, which is the Comanches. That's as far as I've gotten in the Jeep gibberish, as they say. Oh, I think he did take off. So I think he's having issues because of his eyes. So definitely feel better if you don't, man. Definitely see somebody about that because those chemicals can be quite nasty.
Yep.
They are not meant to be in your face.
Ooh, I saw one of those the other day.
Yeah, this is the first one. I had 2 of them. I still have this one. Always wanted a Comanche. Always liked them. They only made about 250 of them. 250,000 of them. And they are extremely hard to find. And most of them are in the shape of mine, which is rough. It does run. I actually make money off it. It's my scrapper truck. It's my Sanford & Son mobile. I bought another one. They're both on the channel, but I bought another one, a 2-wheel drive one, and the frame was Bluetooth. I paid $500 for it, so it wasn't out or anything, and it actually gave me I took the X15 5-speed out of it, which is a good trans, and I'm going to throw that into my 63 Rambler when I start building that this fall.
Nice.
We'll throw the link back up here for anyone who wants to jump in. Probably my buddies are going to jump in right before it's time to shut it down.
I was going to
This
say, I
thing
got to
is
run to
fun.
work real quick. That was the whole point of driving, just to go to work. But I would rather talk to you for a little bit.
I greatly appreciate it, sir. No, thank you for dropping by. I do appreciate it.
Not a problem. I'll catch you in a bit.
All right, thank you, man. Everybody, that was Jack Sanderson, Center Blocks. If you're not subscribed to them, definitely go check out the channel and subscribe. And that was Buff's Garage. Same thing for him. If you are not subscribed, please go check him out. Give him a like and a share and subscribe and all that stuff. And Miss Carol is now back on Ford stuff. It happens. I've had a lot of Fords. I've had more Fords and Jeeps than anything else, personally. So that was my first Comanche. And then I rolled up into a deal I couldn't pass up. Yeah, hello? How are you doing? Can you hear us?
Yeah. I'm just getting home. Can you hear me?
Yep. Let us know if you guys can hear us in the chat. I think we've had a couple audio issues here and there. So if we're having any
Ford
problems,
stuff.
please let us know.
Yeah, I'm back to Ford stuff.
It happens. I've got mostly I've got Jeeps and AMCs right now, but I've had a lot of Fords.
Yeah, I can get onto the whole CJ and AMC talk pretty hardcore. Let's see, a CJ7, I put Ford axles under. And the 4 liters, I'm currently going to be doing a 4-liter head on top of my 4.2 because it needs a top end build.
Yep.
Which is a popular thing in the CJ realm.
Yep.
I'm living in an RV right now in Alabama, so so and then I put I use GM TBI on the actual. You know what? Let me jump on my laptop. I hate this phone. This phone is so slow. Hold on, I'm gonna jump on StreamYard on my laptop. Where is this?
Problem. I saw your CJ on Instagram. I like that. Is a very nice vehicle. Oh, and I believe that should be Miss Carol, and I believe she will be back. Anyone else who would like to jump in, feel free. And this is after I was getting rid of the YJ. I found these two 2000 model year TJ or XJs.
There we go.
There we go. You definitely sound better. I found these two XJs. Guy was moving out of his area up in Romeo, which is about 35 minutes north of me, and I got them for $1,100 a piece. So I worked out quite well.
That definitely looks northeasternish.
Yeah. The green one's the one I drive right now pretty much daily, and it took some stuff and magically needed brake lines because everything I buy needs brake lines. And
What year is it?
They're both 2000s. One's a 2-door, one's a 4-door.
So they got the 0331 head. Oh wait, no, they got the 0331 head, the 2B version.
Yeah, it's definitely. I wanted to keep the 2-door, but it was too bad, so I ended up getting parted out for my Chandler project.
Nah, the 4 liters the better one. Like, it's probably the best gas motor, semi-ish modern that has been around. I got 310,000 out of my XJ. I have 240,000 on my 4.2 and my CJ, but the motor's been through some fuel system mods between. It started out as a feedback carbureted 4.2, and then I neutered it and I put a one from a 78 J20 on it, and I put spring-loaded needle seat, and I vented the bowl, did a few like minor mods to the carburetor. Then I sourced a distributor to make up for the lack of timing. So what a lot of people do when they neuter their old AMCs is their timing curve changes, and you have to look for different mechanical advance. So I went to all the auto parts stores and looked through the sight glass until I found a reman distributor that had the 13R, 17R, and then you just set your base timing to 10 or 12 before top dead center, and I ran that combo for about 12 years, and then I decided to rip out fuel injection from a Chevy, the TBI from an 87 to 95, and then used a computer from a generator, or it's a industrial computer to run it, and that's what I'm running now for fuel injection.
Cool. Yeah, I have a 4.2. Welcome back, Jack Sands Cinderblocks. I have a 4.2 that's going to go into my 63 Rambler, and it's still a great running engine, but I'm going to have to recarb it because it's got the stock intelligent carb on it, and I might go with Clifford stuff and a Weber. I'm not sure yet.
When you do, I'm very
It's trying to put a
4.2.
background behind me.
I'm very comfortable with the 4.2,
That out.
and I've kept them alive for very long.
I will definitely want to pick your brain then, because I am you and Dan. I am not a carburetor guy by any means. Welcome to the chat, Pickle.
Hey, Pickle!
Hey,
Pickle. Hello, everybody.
There's a 600 on that Ford, the 600 Holly on that F-250 out there.
Okay. Yeah, the most common thing I've seen with Clifford seems to be the one company that still makes parts, and they make a decent 2-barrel intake. So I'm not looking to go crazy with it, and they tend to either run the old Motorcraft 2 barrels or the Webers.
Yeah, I got a spread bore 4-barrel with a 2-barrel a TDI adapter that I'm gonna throw on the intake when I do the 4-liter head.
Yeah.
So your 4.2 has a 2-barrel, or is it a single barrel?
I got it as a part of a swap. It's a computer controlled. I think it's probably a 1.
So it is a computer controlled carb.
Yeah.
What did it come out of?
89.
Oh yeah, that is a computer controlled carter. I do have the proper curve distributor if you want to stay with the DuraSpark. I also have an extra HEI laying around if you want to do a 4-pin HEI conversion, which is super simple, 1 wire to fire.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do something because I didn't get the computer with it. He never showed up back up with that, and I prefer not to run that antiquated system. I can help it. I've got enough issues with my Comanche with the Renix injection. That thing is either works or it doesn't, and it's a nightmare to try to fiddle with it.
Well, what
All
you
or
could
none.
do with the 2-barrel, you can get an adapter, and you can actually run a Motorcraft 2100, 2150. The difference between the two, the 2150 has a high altitude compensation, but you have to look for the one with the 1.08 Venturis on it, because that mostly aligns with your small block Fords, like your 289s or 302s, and then you just adjust it from there, and they run super, super awesome.
Cool. No, it's definitely good to know. Yeah, I'll definitely be picking your brain, and Dan from New Guys Garage. He's definitely the carburetor whisperer.
Oh yeah, for sure he is.
So
Yeah, I like carb. That took it's like
Oh,
an
nice.
That is nice.
That is nice stuff, yeah.
That was my $500 Comanche, and that was the one that the frame was Bluetooth.
Yeah.
And that ended up becoming a part out project, unfortunately. And I did keep the transport. I'm going to put it in my 63 Rambler, like I mentioned, but I wanted to keep it. I have a project I want to do with a 2-wheel drive Comanche, and this was not the one.
Is that the one with the AX15 transmission?
Yeah.
If it was a manual.
Yeah,
I dated a chick in Idaho that had one of those.
They could have.
Yeah,
They could have had the Peugeot B810.
Yeah, 86 to 86, 89, they were Peugeot. I had one. The 4-liter, the 4.2 I got with the YJ trade I did, that had a Peugeot. Nobody wanted it, so that got parted out. But yeah, it's an AX15. 90, 91, 92 were the AX15s.
The
It's a
AX15 and the Toyota Hilux trucks, they share the same guts and stuff. They actually almost the same case. The tail shaft is different. The front towards bell housing is the same. Only they
Really?
use different bell housing between Jeep or Toyota.
The,
So you could literally buy a Toyota bell housing and put it on that Jeep transmission, or vice versa.
and it's
That's good
like
to know.
90. If you get an AX15 that's like post 90 or 91, I forget which one they went to the external slave. That's my favorite AX15 versions. You can
Unfortunately,
also,
that's it is not. It is internal.
Apparently, a lot of us have done some junkyard picking there.
Yeah. Well, my garage looks like a junkyard. I've got 3 cars worth of parts plus a car and I've got a 1.5 car garage. So I got a lot of crap crammed in there.
I'm in a 4-bay garage here, but it's 4 bays for semis. And I only have half of a bay, not even half of a bay, because there's a dump truck behind my laptop here. So the square body crew cab has to be put in here at a 45-degree angle, because if I pull it in here straight to the dump truck, I only have about 1.5 foot of space between the front of the frame if the back bumper's touching the door. So I turned the whole truck sideways to fit it in here.
that's a nice square body.
It's not as nice as it looks from here.
It's,
I did pick the whole truck up as a running truck for $1,500, and it's got the nostalgia of being from Milligan, Nebraska, and it worked at the mill. And Mr. Kasich himself, the owner of the mill, owned the truck. So,
Cool truck.
is it a SM465 or a Turbo 400?
it had the Muncie. Is that the SM?
465? Yeah.
Yeah,
Had the-
and
Your
small
450.
block 350, but it had the California emissions with 2 smog pumps. Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, exactly.
So, you can just
That
put-
lightened the truck by like 100 pounds when I threw all that crap away.
Yeah, I just put a standard. Still have a Quadrajet, and you put a Quadrajet on it.
I took the whole cast iron intake off, put the RPM air gap on it, Summit Racing carb, which is a hybrid between a Holley and an Edelbrock. It's got the top removing plate like an Edelbrock, but it uses
Okay.
all Holley internal parts.
I have
Great
I have Edelbrock.
carb.
I ran an Edelbrock 1406 in a square body.
Yeah,
When I was
good for drivability.
that was my first. I had a Chevy 305 with a Quadrajet. Still have it. I still have a Quadrajet that I took off the square body and I put an Edelbrock on there because I'm an idiot and didn't know Quadrajet at the time. But now I do. And
Well-
then I went into a Ford and got a 460 because I totaled one truck and I needed 4-wheel drive.
Yeah.
So at one point I had like 2.5 trucks as a 16-year-old girl.
Well, like we discussed earlier in the chat, I put down a list of around 17 or 19 vehicles, and I still own a good chunk of them or parts of them, counting this one and the motorcycle that's just locked into a Connex. This one's currently a 2-wheel drive truck. In the future, it will be probably a 4-wheel drive. Right now, it's once the 8.1 and Allison's in there and it's a running chassis. I do have a disc brake rear end from a modern truck that had an Allison and 8.1 in it,
Are
and
you
we'll probably
gonna
get that
put a-
rear end with the disc brakes on it.
Are you gonna put a Kingpin 60 in the front or ball joint 60 in the front?
I do not know.
I'll do a Kingpin 60.
Is that in the Fords or is that in the Dodges?
Or what you
Predominantly.
can do, you can get a ball joint 60 and you can do what's called a ball joint delete. They basically a kit called American Iron Off Road. They make the kits that basically turn your ball joint system into a Kingpin system.
Okay.
I did
there's
one of those converted.
Real quick,
Super
sorry,
duper.
real quick. Take it easy, Neverboard
ahead.
S10. Thank you very much for dropping by.
Yeah, bye,
See you later.
Neverboard.
Take care.
There's 2 F250s out here that's 8-lug front axle, and I could probably snag one of those for a song from my landlord. So
I don't mean to get all long-winded and I get very wordy and get very passionate and obsessive of certain of mechanical stuff. So pardon.
I'm not looking for true off-road. I just want the overall look and drivability, some off-road capability. I'm not trying to go to Moab with this. In fact, if I go to Moab, the Toyota will be on a trailer behind this.
I just
So-
think of the ball joint deletes for just strength, like
Okay, makes it stronger overall then.
less wear, like
Hey,
and what I
learn
mean.
something new every day, guys.
I don't mean to take over like.
No, that's I'm
Long-winded.
learning from you.
Half the fun is having new people come in and share their experiences and knowledge. So
I'm not afraid to learn from anybody.
Very true.
So
I'm not so big into the high horsepower. What makes what? I'm more into like. So
what's more reliable?
The off-roading and what can get me going down the road for
Right.
efficiently, whether it's obviously not fuel efficiently, but
Mine's how much do I have to spend on it? Or does one of my buddies already have it? I could trade with him. 'Cause, I've got right now that I got that Muncie and the 350 up for trade for somebody here locally. So
Not too much,
Yeah,
Jim. How's it going on your way?
and
What's up, Pickle?
That is my '63 Rambler that the 4.2 and the
Yeah.
AX50 are going to go into. So
back
that's
to this. Go ahead.
awesome.
it's it much better than that, but that's the best picture I had of it. Just as a picture I could throw in here. So
Does that still have
That's pretty
four-wheel drums?
it does have 4-wheel drums for now.
Yes.
It will not. I do plan on airbagging that thing and slamming it, so we will see how that goes. It all depends on funding. It's got a Mustang 8-inch rear end in it, and it was his high school drag car that never really got to be done. So it had been sitting in a barn up north of me for around 30, 35 years. So
At least all the glass is still up.
At least you're putting an AMC power plant in it.
yeah, it's just the way it worked out. If by some chance that doesn't happen, it'll probably go LS just because it's simple. But I've got so many 4-liters and 4.2s, I might as well do it. Plus, it's kind of a neat. And the funny thing is, this was actually a V8 car, and I'm putting a 6 in it.
I am a. You will find that I am I'm a big fan of the 4.2. I'm a big fan.
I like inline 6 motors.
I've
They're
had a
easy
lot
and they're
of-
reliable.
I've had more at this point. I've had more straight 6s than anything else. I've had small Ford V8s here and there, but I mean this car. Another interesting fact I learned getting this car was if you find an old AMC and it has tinted glass, that means it came with AC. They didn't tint the glass unless it had AC.
Neat.
And this car has a green blue tint to it.
Okay. 4 of my vehicles were inline 6s. All 3 Supras and the Mustang.
Hmm.
So I didn't own a V8 until I bought the Tundra for the wife, and then I bought this truck. So this is a
Yeah,
true
before the
V8. The
Tundra.
Tundra I didn't count because I bought it new. I haven't had to turn a wrench on it. So
And then
What is
everybody's favorite, the Chambler.
that's the beginning of it when you got it.
That was it sitting in the field up north before it got delivered to me. So
Nice.
Dang. That's
That
like
doesn't look too
patina.
bad from here.
Yeah, it looks pretty good from here. Yeah.
Preserve,
from here and with all the dirt on it, it looks great. So
preserve patina.
Lay down.
it's a 2000 Cherokee chassis with a 65 Rambler body on it.
Oh.
So it's a TRAR or a Franken car or whatever the hell the name of it is. It was poorly done, extremely poorly done. That's why I paid $1,100 for it, delivered 2.5 hours.
Oh, so it already had that under it when you got it.
Extremely poorly done. Yes.
Okay. I thought you.
No,
I'm sorry.
no. If I might have done something like this, but I wouldn't have done it the way that he did it. It was basically a
Okay.
death trap because he had a couple 4x4 tubes and sheet metal house flashing and aluminum rivets to join the bodies together. It was. But it's not. That's why.
That's fun times.
I've done.
Excuse me.
I have put
That wrench was working.
2x2 by 1/4 inch steel. I cut it and I put it in the front of my 78 F250. I put front lift blocks in my 78 when I was 16.
Take care. It does nothing special.
Take it easy.
See, it does nothing special.
That thing was interesting.
Well, you know, as a 4x4 person, that front lift blocks are a gigantic no-no. So.
Yep, that was
I'm making the face.
That was 16-year-old Jamie.
Hey, that's what kids in high school do, right?
Yeah, when you don't know any better, this kind of stuff. Well,
Any better?
this guy had the best of intentions when he did this car because it was supposed to be a gambler car, but I'm not saying it just for YouTube. It would have killed him. The way he had it put together, nothing was welded, and what was welded was bad. He had the axle flip upside down, and the axle was sitting on the frame,
Good girl.
and I've spent 5 months now piecing it back together, and everything I touch is another problem. And it's not just him. I'm also dealing with really bad bodywork repairs from the 80s or the late 70s. It's just Bondo and hopes and dreams.
Kind of funny because that car looked like the outside of the body, like there's, by the looks of this picture anyway, there's not a whole lot of rust. Like there's no holes or anything in it. Yet when you're tearing it apart, you tear off, a piece of house flashing, and underneath it's just hiding, a whole other problem.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of hidden stuff, and there is a lot of Bondo. That chunk I took out of the back was
Oh, I
about a
remember that video.
half-inch thick minimum, and it had chicken wire in it. And that was structural Bondo.
Oh yeah,
That makes it structural, yes.
That's
In the
probably-
composites world, that you should have probably had 4 or 5 layers in that amount of Bondo.
Beat it.
You're talking about the lift. Here's the factory body mount for the square body.
Yeah, that's definitely.
These came out of an OBS Chevy, and then I'm adding at least 1 disc. So that's a full inch and a half just with 1 disc. If I had another, that makes it 2 inches of lift. And these are the same diameter.
I put a 1-inch body lift. It was like 1 1/4 or whatever it was called on my CJ, and then I quickly took it off. Well, I took it off after a while. I went back to stock so I put a Brazilian 1-ton truck transmission in my CJ, right? And
Where do you get a Brazilian 1-ton truck transmission?
Brilliant Ford.
Long story. So it's actually a TR 4050 from Tremec, but they use them in Brazil. But and I put an Atlas transfer case in it.
Good transfer case, I'm sure.
So I had a
Very
body lift, and I wanted to drop the body back to get my center of gravity low, but I was still spring over axle because the theme of my CJ is an old school hard car, and I did just that. Well, I kind of pushed the transmission up into the body, and I had to clearance some of it for the transfer case, and now I have it. I mean, it's barely fitting right, and then I have my anti-wrap bar, my homemade skid that I took from a slab of steel from a construction site that they gave me.
I've got a lot of steel that came from work that they just have in scrap piles. I wouldn't normally be a body lift person, but I need to be able to clear that bus transmission that I'm putting in my truck.
And then what else? So I took a rear Ford 9-inch and I made a front steer axle, and then I put a special high pinion dropout in it.
They have the high pinions for the Toyotas too, and theirs is just a miniature version of the 9-inch Ford. I was supposed to launch a video today that was where I was actually my original footage that I shot back in maybe 2010, 2011. After watching Roadkill on YouTube before they were ever on Motor Trend.
I just found out about Roadkill.
Oh, there you go. Change the format there. I shot that footage on a GoPro 1 and never got it onto YouTube because of one, not knowing how to edit, and one, not knowing how to edit, and 2, I lost some of the footage. I don't know where it went, or if it was just unusable, probably too windy that they shot it maybe. In fact, I was editing a lot of that this week, and the audio was pretty unusable. Some of it was too windy. Some of the camera was in a waterproof case back because GoPros. And I actually took and learned how to use the Audacity audio editing software this week, and was able to eliminate when I wasn't talking. I just deleted the audio down and then put white noise in, and then also used Audacity to try to reduce as much of the wind noise as possible, and even just reduce the volume when it was just too windy. So some of the clips. Then I discovered, if y'all saw my short from yesterday, one of my footage of me actually driving the Toyota, because I bought the Toyota truck in Idaho, worked on it in the hotel parking lot. The guy had blown up the rear differential, and on the Toyotas, it's kind of like the Ford 9-inch, and I was able to swap the front and rear differentials because he'd blown up the rear one. I just put the rear one in the front, just to keep the gear oil in, and put the front one in the rear so I'd have a way to drive it in rear wheel drive. Because I drove it from the guy's house to the hotel, which was an hour and a half drive in Idaho, in front wheel drive. Talk about torque steer. It was stupid.
Yeah, but that's a high pinion, right, in the front.
No, you can opt for the high pinion in the front. That was a very rare option.
Because the only thing is, I don't like a high pinion in the rear because of the pinion bearing.
Oh no, yeah.
And plus, you're running on the coast side of the gears. It's not my.
Yeah.
I mean, some people do it and they don't have problems with it, but it's just my. It don't compute very well in my brain.
Right. I did take that truck. That was my second Toyota that I bought in Idaho. Envious Creations is leaving.
Hey, Envious.
Oh, he
And
just got
good
here.
evening. Oh, he just got here. Okay. So I bought that truck in Idaho, fixed and shot some of the footage in the parking lot in Idaho, and then drove it through Moab on the way home to Texas. So I drove it in 2-wheel drive in Moab, trying to take it on the tamer trails, and then wound up accidentally finding my way onto an ATV trail. Unfortunately, I didn't get footage of that part, but that truck now has more airtime than some of the aircraft I worked on in the Army. But
I'm also.
I do have some pretty good footage of Moab that came out of that GoPro. I'll just have to edit the clicks and pops out of it because the camera was banging on the glass of the truck because I didn't have a GoPro mount back then.
So you live in Texas?
I do live in Texas. I'm currently staying and working in Garden City, Kansas.
I live in Texas. I'm
gypsy.
staying and working. I live in Texas, and I stay and working in Alabama right now. While I finish out my last few years in the Army before retirement.
Oh, there you go. How much time you got left?
A little more than like 3 years and 10 months.
Okay.
And 10 days and 4 hours or something. I don't.
Right.
Well,
My brother's
maybe
down
that's-
to like 10 or 11 months. He's about to retire too.
Yeah, I've been in 16 years, so.
I've been out for 14.
Jackson, are those the Burfield
joints?
joints on the steering axles?
The Toyotas have Burfs, yes.
Okay.
And there was a channel. In fact, I was the video I was making in the parking lot in Idaho, back 11, 12 years ago, whenever I made that video.
Tracks housings.
It was the Wheelie Pete had done a YouTube video, and he was my first YouTube channel that I subscribed to. Wheelie Pete had done one on how to take the Burfields out without taking the whole front axle apart. You know, he had to take the axle off the steering knuckle. He would take the front, the steering arm off the knuckle, pop the knuckle off. All you'd have to do was take your calipers off and hang them on the frame. If you did the slot, all you had to do was slot the tab on the back of the steering knuckle and take the whole brake assembly off without breaking loose the lines. So you could do this potentially on a trail. Just take your caliper off the discs and then take that steering arm off and then pop the whole knuckle out. And you could take a broken, that was the main purpose of it. You could take a broken Burfield off and still drive without that Burfield clanking around in there being broken or the front axle being broken. So that was the Wheelie Pete method.
Excuse me.
Are you familiar with the RCVs? RCV shafts? Poly
Yes.
Performance. It's
Yeah.
a lot of same concept, but
Yeah.
I
Hey,
prefer.
Juan, how are you, buddy?
Hi, Juan.
Wow, he's got us all hitting up there. Hi.
Yeah. I've seen Juan sends me some funny reels and memes on Instagram
Me too.
that get me
Yeah.
laughing on a weekly basis.
There you go. I posted the video last night. It was off of the video footage from 11 years ago. While I was wheeling in Moab, I just saw the video. There's a rock that looks just like a baboon or a monkey. And it's a natural rock formation. While I was wheeling, I saw that. And so I've cut all that down into a short. And that's also, that footage is going to be in the next long form that I release. So.
Wow.
Pickle, do you know what we're talking about? We're talking about a 9-inch Ford and the Toyota axle.
What's that?
Somewhat.
They're mirror image of each other. The Toyota just
The
cloned it and made
the
it smaller.
center section is removable from the axle, so you
Yeah,
can
drop out.
pull the center
Yeah.
section out.
The third one,
Okay.
they're fun.
So that's when like, people say Ford 9 is used a lot in off-roading, but also really in drag racing. And the Toyota axles, up until I think they still are, the solid axles are that same basic design. There's a lot of differences too, but it's the same inherent nature to it, same parts, same style.
Simple.
I want to
Yeah.
say even the Tundras use a bigger modernized version of it. In fact, the Tundras probably use a bigger spring gear now than the Ford 9-inch. They're probably a 10 or 11.
Here's
Knowing
the
Ford,
here's
uh,
the
Toyota now.
Wait, which Tundras? The new ones or?
Yeah.
Up until a certain year, maybe even the modern ones.
Yeah,
Here's
if you look under, his dad's got a brand new one. If you look underneath it, it should have a removable center section. That's what we're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's noticeable. There's no diff cover on the back. It's not. It's basically a big round part. So
Yeah,
you pull
it is. Yeah,
out.
yeah, it does.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of the science behind it is the Ford 9-inch is a high point differential. And what it does is if you compare like a Ford 9-inch to like a Dana 60, a Ford 88, you got more ring and pinion teeth contact. Even though you got a smaller ring gear, you got more teeth contact, and that helps alleviate more gear deflection. That's why people could put these high horsepower applications into that center section. And it's got more bearing support. It's got bearing support like the 14-bolt Chevy, but it's got it's more compact, and it's got the more gear contact, and there's so many more different ratios. Plus, say if you're running like XYZ track and you're like, I don't like this gear, I'm just gonna swap it out in a half hour and just throw in
Pop them
another
out, pop them in.
center. And
And with
I need her to talk to my wife. Because my wife, when I talk to her about car stuff, it's wah 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 like the Peanuts cartoon.
Yeah.
the gear work, you can make a 10. They have a 10-inch diff also. I have what's called a True High 9 in the front, and it's basically it's a high pinion 9-inch, but it's got different cut gears so that your
One, you're right. Tundras
so
do
that your
not
rear
have beads
pinion
in them.
support actually gets oiling into the rear the pinion bearing.
What was that, Pickle?
Most of the time they're
Han was just saying Tundras need V8s again because they have the turbocharged V6 now, the 3.5 liter.
and then most of the time their 9 inches are not going to be a cast center section, so you have a lot more ability to modify them and customize them because they're normally a sheet metal or a different type of part. They're not a cast where it's incredibly hard to weld to them.
Oh, yeah.
They're not
Yeah,
most likely to crack.
You also got different irons with third members. Like so many different aftermarket companies came out. Like you got nodular iron, you got aluminum. I mean, there's so many the aftermarket support for the 9 inches.
Hey, new guys.
How's it
Great.
going?
And you can also make a 10-inch or 9-inch and use like full floaters from like a Ford axle, so you can have the 8-log floating ends with the Ford 9-inch center, so you get the best of both worlds. And you
Wow.
They're
can,
extremely adaptable. And then you can also get the
what I do, I take blank housings, right? I'll take the blank housings and then I'll weld either the cast to mild or mild to mild, whatever it is. I'll actually weld the ends on them and clock them a certain way for like alignment. No, you
yeah.
just heat 'em
Yes,
up.
she is.
Larry was one I was asking about your accommodations at the moment.
Huh?
I
Oh,
live in an RV as well.
yeah, I'm in an RV in Alabama, but I'll be in Texas like next weekend because I go home on the weekends because I commute and I'm crazy. And I drive a 460 every day now.
I won't be surprised if we're living in the back of a pickup truck soon.
Well, and then you could also go as far as I think they're more adaptable with the portals if you ever go crazy and want to spend 20 grand on an axle. So.
You could do that with a Ford, yes. That 9-inch.
Yeah, there's also like they make.
Yeah.
You can even buy the blanks that
Yeah,
the flanges at the
there is, Dan, a lot more.
section, and you can make your own just using like stamp pieces of steel and just weld them together as long as it holds your
They're very adaptable.
wheel. And then
Yes.
you can build like back brace trusses for strength in the tubes if you're like doing a jump or something. It's
Yeah,
pretty. That's why I got into the 9-inch.
That's what 6% was saying earlier. Because it's not a cast center section, you can weld to the housing because it is a stamped sheet metal housing.
Yeah, but when I get
The carrier's the only part that's cast.
Yeah.
when I get like cast inner C knuckles to put the steering axle. I made the steering axle. I got cast inner C knuckles, so I had to heat them up, and then I welded it to the mild, and then I like slow cooled it.
She's building my next axle.
Yeah. Get her.
I just get really,
She just nerded out on that for like the last 10 or 15 minutes. I had a brother build
And Dan are not in here.
Yeah.
I'm surprised the boys are not in their normal spot right when I'm supposed to stop everything.
I
Come
just
on,
get
join
very,
the party there, boys.
I don't mean to like get wordy and go off in the
Oh
tangent.
no,
No.
No, a lot of
she's
people
sharing a lot of
impressed,
knowledge.
actually.
I mean, yes, and I mean that's
there's no general focus. I'm trying to have topics because it's mostly just me, at least for the first hour or two. I want people to come in and share their experiences because a lot of people might not know what we're talking about, and the similarities between like the Toyota technology and the Ford technology, and everybody, whether they understand it or not, uses in almost every form of racing uses
shared
the 90
technologies.
shared
Yeah.
basic axle.
I'm just not I'm not a high horsepower person. I'm just drive down the road and go off roading.
Me too, yeah.
I can go down the road at 75 miles an hour and then go do some dumb, crazy stuff that I can roll my vehicle and still drive it home the next day. That's my goal. But keeping up with traffic without having death wobble is my goal. And
6% was on my chat the other day. Was it Sunday? I was talking about the Toyota when I was driving it back and forth in Abilene, Texas. And I'd come over the hilltop, and I always knew there was a speed trap there, but sometimes I'd forget and come over that hilltop and look at my speedometer. You know, first reaction when you see a state trooper is you can let off the gas, right? You know,
Oh, yeah.
and I'd come over that hilltop, and of course I was driving a Toyota with 35-inch tires, no 4-cylinder. And I'd come over that hilltop and let off the gas and look over the state trooper and realize I was doing at least 10 under the speed limit.
and he was
I was not going to get a speeding ticket in that truck.
and that was the 20. That was a 22 RE, right?
No, mine was a 22R. The
Carburetor.
only Toyota that I have that had the RE in it was the 4Runner, because it was an 86. That was the first year of the RE motor. In fact, I'd already swapped that one to a 20R head back then. That was one of the biggest mods I did.
I ferried a 22 RE, a 4Runner. I think it was a 4Runner. It was like an 89 or 88. I ferried.
They
one.
held on to that motor for a long time.
I ferried one for like 1,800 miles once. And it was just awful.
Oh, you delivered it to?
Yeah.
Okay, car hauler type thing.
I basically like, all right, my friend PCS from Virginia.
Oh, okay.
From Virginia to Arizona,
Holy smokes!
and I'm like,
That's a big move.
and I'm
Where were
like,
they at in Virginia?
Belvoir.
Fort Belvoir.
It's
Is
north
that the?
Northern Virginia.
Oh, Northern Virginia. Okay. I was in Fort Useless.
Okay, maintenance,
I was aviation.
aviation. That's right.
Yeah. And
so
then I
did
would
this
go
thing.
past. Yeah, we'd drive past what was the man? I think it almost dated back to the Civil War. The one right there on the bay.
Talking
right
about
there.
which one?
It was on the north side of the big bay in Virginia. If you went to the south side of it, was where all the naval yards were.
There's Fort Washington, and then there's Dahlgren.
I think it's further south.
There's Fort Monroe, but
Monroe.
there's
I visited Fort Monroe a couple times. That was fun. It was very historic.
there's Fort Meade.
That was Fort Monroe. I visited some of the larger naval air stations over there too while I was there.
And then there's
Just to kill
Naval-
time.
Naval Air Station Dahlgren right over the Potomac.
Never got to that one.
So I ferried this thing.
Hold on.
I drove it for him. I threw a set of tools in it, and I just took off, and it never gave me an issue. Air condition still worked.
So you hauled the vehicle, the Toyota 4Runner, all the way from Virginia
drove
to
it.
where?
To
Oh, you drove it for him.
Arizona, and then I flew back.
Oh, wow. Must have been a good friend.
Yeah, I don't know where he's at now. We were actually gonna date. Long story short, but that didn't work out. Yeah.
Maybe for the best. Sometimes military relationships don't work out that great.
No, they don't at all.
How's your house prep going, Pickle?
I cut
All
myself
done.
something.
I went through
Everything.
my first 2 wives while I was in the Army.
I cut myself on a 460.
Ouch. How do you cut yourself
Wow.
on a 460?
Very
Go ahead,
carefully.
I was changing my radiator cap. My radiator cap is starting to relieve the pressure too much. So I'm putting the 460 through its paces before I drive this thing across country in like 2 weeks or whatever.
Give it a good workout first, huh?
I'm driving it every single day. Like that is my only vehicle right now. So every day it's an 87 460 with a 4-barrel.
Drink some gas, I'm sure. What's our next vehicle there? 6%?
Yeah.
Uh,
After
I have-
after the Chambler.
How far are we into that? We're a couple vehicles in.
that was
sure.
it. Chandler's the last thing I bought. So
Oh, okay. That is the most recent. Oh, so we've
the
run
next-
that one out.
I got my eyes on a 53 CJ5, but it all depends on money and if it's still available when I have money.
So those are the 53, the CJ5. That's the early CJ5. It's got a few inches shorter in the front. It's got an F134.
Yeah, it's technically it's a military M38, but
So it's 24 volt.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So
pretty
they got the F134. So it's an M38A1.
yeah.
So they have the F134 in them. A lot of people take that out and they'll put a Buick Godfire V6 in it.
It's
Oh,
probably
but-
going to get a 2.3 turbo in it, realistically, if I end up buying it.
But what you could do, since it's got a Dana 18, Warren and Saturn has an overdrive
Hey,
unit.
paint the
Slap on
seat
the end of the PTO. Slap on the end of the PTO output, and you can have an overdrive in your Willys.
That'd be cool. I'm sorry, I'm trying to shut that. It keeps jumping. It's great because everybody's talking in the chat, which is awesome. Hello, Honest Peyton, and how are you guys doing? Real quick, I didn't notice it before, but you said you guys in an older video about a month ago, I didn't see it till yesterday, were waiting for a call out from me, and I don't know what you're referencing. So if you could let me know, I would appreciate it because I don't know if it was something that we already did or not. I couldn't comment on the video. The comments were turned off. So I'm wondering what you were referring to. And like Juan said, definitely hit the like button. I appreciate everybody being here. Go seek out anybody that you don't know or aren't subscribed to in either the live stream here or in the chat, and give them a like, give them a share, give them a subscribe, let them know where you found them and everything else. A big part of this is building community up and exposing new people to each other and trying to help build the bonds of community.
Sorry, I
I
have a compressor
the
running in the
YouTube-
background.
I don't have a YouTube channel content. It's
Oh, wow.
all on Instagram.
Yeah, you're perfectly fine. Anybody
Oh, yeah.
is more than welcome to come on in because you never know what you're going to learn or who you're going to meet and have a good time with. Honest Peyton, the Burnout Challenge, that was actually that was Dan from New Guys Garage.
It was, yeah. He challenged me
I
to it, but I don't have
don't
anything that'll do a burnout.
Yeah, I don't know
40
what happened
cars.
with that.
Wow.
Oh yeah, and they've got a very nice collection of. You guys just
have
bought
had.
something, but they've got my dream garage. It's all 30s Fords and that
That's cool
kind of
stuff.
not ratted out rat rod style, but very nice stuff.
They got some cool old hot rods.
Yes, they do.
Yes.
Yeah, and
yes.
it's a father-daughter team working together, building cars, which is pretty cool as well.
That is neat. Yes. Sorry, my mustache has fallen today. I had to run my eyes 15 minutes underwater today, so my whole face got messed up.
Yeah, definitely keep an eye on yourself. If you got issues, definitely go have it looked
Yeah.
at because that's
Um,
nasty.
Actually,
That's
bag oil is very painful. but it is actually a mineral oil base, just like Vaseline. So it's not good for the eyes, but it's not going to cause any permanent damage. I read at least 15 SDSs today and settled on there was an AC tech, and he showed where he had the PAG oil and all the refrigerant had the UV dye in it, and he got that sprayed in his eye because he wasn't wearing safety glasses that particular day. I do wear glasses. What actually got in my eye was either residue from something on my face, or it was the mist that made it around my glasses. And I didn't initially feel like I had anything in my eyes. I washed my face with several bottles of water and clean rags. And I was like, hey, my glasses are kind of foggy. I'm going to go wash my glasses because I keep a glasses cleaner in my office. And so I told my techs that, and I jump in the van. And halfway across the parking lot, it got really foggy. And I took my glasses off and realized it wasn't my glasses. So made it to the office, cleaned my glasses anyway. Used some eye wash that I keep in my desk. That didn't help. And I went and found the site manager and told him call the safety manager. And we had a big powwow around the eye wash station for the next 30 minutes and called our online healthcare provider. And, they said, well, let's try first aid first, because you always want to try to eliminate the OSHA reportable accidents. We just had an incident today. So first aid, if first aid will fix it, then first aid's what it is.
Yeah, just like the FAA, incidents,
right?
Accidents.
Yeah, and for anybody who doesn't,
Oh,
we lost her. Oh no, we lost our host.
We lost the host.
I on the flip side of that, I should have learned my lesson. Thanksgiving Day last year, I got metal and a little bit of the stone from a Dremel in my eye on Thanksgiving Day.
I had to
and
get
of course
it out of my eye once. That was
all the urgent care clinics and stuff like that were obviously closed. I wheeled up to the local, pharmacy, and they locked their doors as I was walking up to the door. I was like, please, 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 I just need some sort of eye wash and some saline for like contact lenses. Please sell me that. That's all I need. Literally, I'll hand you my card. Just go pick it up for me. And they wouldn't let me in the door. Long story short, I wound up at the emergency room on Thanksgiving Day last year for the cast iron metal and or parts of the Dremel disc in my eyes. So I should have learned then, and I didn't.
Grind them out? Did they numb it and grind them out?
What they did is they did numb it. My problem with being numbed, I'm highly sensitive to Tylenol, Aleve, aspirin, and Motrin, as in was anaphylactic shock if I take Motrin or Tylenol, Aleve. So my eyes will swell shut anyway from those type of reactions. And having eye trauma that day, when they put that numbing drop in my eye, my blood pressure shot through the roof. I almost wound up landing on the helipad of the emergency room. I did go through several ceilings. I think I wound up on the third floor. The head nurse finally found me up there on the third floor, wandering around where the helicopter crew sleeps at, because they've closed that wing and it's reserved for the helicopter crew. They found me wandering around up there because I shot through the several floors of that hospital, as well as my blood pressure shot up. That wasn't my first experience at that hospital, so the head nurse knew that I'm very sensitive to being given any sort of painkillers.
Dang.
Long story. As soon as the numbing drops kicked in, they gave me a few minutes, and as soon as I realized I was not having an allergic reaction to the numbing drops, they proceeded to Q-tip my eyes for several minutes and got several particles out of both eyes, which I only thought I had a particle in one eye. But apparently they, with their magnifying glasses, were able to see all that. And then they proceeded to give me a Murphy lens eye bath. They put a big rubber lens in both eyes, and they run saline from the IV through those. and then run the whole bag through. And by the end of that, every stitch of clothing I was wearing was soaking wet with saline. Their entire hospital bed was soaking wet with saline. Fortunately, they warned me before they put the thing in, so I did take my shirt off. But so at the end of the day, I left there very sore with less stuff in my eyes than when I went in, and I didn't finish that video that weekend.
Wow.
Every
I don't mean to. I don't mean to.
I'm
laugh.
bad about getting stuff in my eyes. That's twice in 1 year.
I'm not. I'm not I'm not laughing. I'm trying not to be rude.
Oh, laugh! It's embarrassing, but I mean, I should have learned the first
Yeah.
time after Thanksgiving. And I
was
mean, what
wearing
happened
a
with the?
face shield. I was wearing a face shield, and this is why I'll never go back to Harbor Freight
Ooh,
consumable discs because one exploded, went right through my face shield and right into my eyeball. And then
Ow.
I got metal in my eye once and had to get it grinded out. That was scary.
Take it easy on
Uh,
the pregnant.
Hey,
Take care.
I'm having a mini heart attack after hearing you have to get stuff grinded out of your eye.
I had a ulcer on my optic nerve and I lost vision in one of my eye. Yeah, eye trauma with me is not very fun. But I
I've
had
just had both cataracts done. That's as close as watching someone with a knife in your eyeball is very strange. And everything
You have to watch it.
Everything with my last name apparently is bad. Murphy's Law, Murphy Bed, Murphy Eye Wash.
Thanks. Yes, my mom had just had the cataract surgery, one eye at a time, the last couple of weeks. So
I had
when
LASIK.
she got before they released her from the hospital, she already had the blood circling around in the fluid in her eye, and she was freaking out. And the doctor came in and he goes, of course they got that big lens they put over, and he goes, "Oh, that's just a little bit of blood floating around. You'll be okay in a couple days." She's like, "Well, am I going to be okay?" He's like, "Yes, you're going to be okay." She's like, "Okay, just as long as you assure me that's okay."
Mine was
He goes,
fine.
"No."
Mine went smooth, but yeah.
That's good. Well, her other eye, the second one went a lot better than the first one. So, and she knew what to expect a little bit better. So,
But it's definitely the first surgery. I just woke up and there's a guy with a knife, and I see him doing this, right in my eye, and that was a very weird sensation.
Yeah, getting a hearing
So-
like grinding in your eyeball is just not a good scenario. Nope. But I got the doctor to take a picture of it while he was doing it.
If you guys having stuff in your eyes.
Yeah,
Hey,
tough life.
I was actually going to save this for my stream tomorrow. It's embarrassing safety type accidents, but it came up. It's fresh in my mind today because my eyes are they're not burning anymore so much as just tender and sore.
It's not
So-
about as bad as going to Pakistan and watching how they work, like sandals and in a
Oh, jeez.
mechanical environment. It's just
Oh,
great.
and no steel toe, no gloves. It's just,
No, just
running around their flip flops. Yeah.
no fire retardant stuff, and
No F's given.
just like
What?
just like
OSHA. What's OSHA?
just like using a shield, stick welding with some 70-18 with sandals on. It's just great.
Their feet are a lot tougher than ours.
I don't know. They do some pretty amazing stuff in Pakistan. If you ever get a chance to go.
I don't think I want to go there. I
don't
went
think
to
so
Iraq
either.
at least twice.
Now, after the transplants, my travel itinerary is really limited. So.
I can imagine. So I caught some tail ends here and there. You've worked at several interesting places. Am I correct? 6%.
Yeah, I've worked. Not interesting for Michigan per se, but yeah, I've worked at McLaren. I worked at Roush. I worked contract for Ford. I've done labor time with GM.
Neat.
I've worked last company I worked for made trailers that they transport semis in, and the ones that expand and do all these crazy transformer things.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
That's
that's neat
trailer.
stuff too.
They actually the neatest thing they didn't make it when I was there. They actually had a mobile gun range in a semi trailer.
Oh,
You sent it over to
my
Saudi
wife
Arabia.
and I would love that.
It was 50 caliber rated, in a 53-foot semi trailer. So that was a lot. I worked for Roush as a mechanic, and then I came back as an engineer. And actually, the last place I was doing stuff with them was we were making Disney rides, and I made
Disney rides from
yeah, they
Roush.
were making for Roush. They started an entertainment division. So Roush is a very strange. I've never made more money than at Roush both times, and it was the most boring crap I've ever done in my entire life. Very strange.
My date.
Ford racing and I worked. I did a defense contractor. I built vehicles and worked my way into engineering. We built mostly stuff. You guys may or might know the PTDS, Persistent Threat Detection System. The THAAD stuff. Built stuff for them. Built stuff for Harris. Built stuff for
Harris radios. Harris radios. Yep.
Yeah, I built the main thing I built was a trailer, FM gain trailer. It looked like a giant boat trailer, and it would slide off a rack
like
and put a giant satellite dish for listening equipment in.
all the active antennas and amplification. Yep.
Yeah, we built dirigible stuff. A lot of we very rarely built stuff with weapons on it. We mostly did support vehicles and technology stuff.
Nice.
Okay. You know, as you know, everything in the military. Sorry, Bill?
You've had some interesting jobs.
I've been lucky. And everything in the military is an acronym or an abbreviation for something. So,
Yep.
like PTID, Persistent Threat Detection System, basically that's the balloon on a trailer that would go up 200-300 feet with a bunch of cameras and follow the bad guys back to their lair. THAAD is a thermal high altitude aerial defense, which basically is a microwave system and missiles that would go and shoot other missiles down. And like I think I said the last one, you could actually focus the microwave aiming array and down a plane with it. It was that strong. So.
Wow, that's pretty incredible.
Yes, I've seen those. We also call them PTITs, pan tilt zoom, because you pan the thing,
Nope.
tilted zoom it.
There's Jack
I
stands.
think we lost Jack Stans. Hopefully we didn't. If not, if we did, it was good to see you tonight. If we didn't, I'll see you back in a couple minutes. The PTIs were neat.
I actually got certified in FLIR thermography
Okay, the forward-looking infrared.
before, and also for also gas finding too. So we use a midwave to find gas and to actually see through glass.
His audio went for a crap.
Yeah, Jack Stans is sorry. I think we might have lost him for tonight. He said his audio went to absolute crap. I did hear it clicking. I didn't know what was going on. I thought he coughed. No, that we built the PTIDs for Lockheed Martin, and then we built. There was another trailer.
Did you do anything with the CRAM? The CRAM?
I don't believe they might have. Nothing that I ever dealt with personally. We built another balloon system. I can't remember the name of the company. It wasn't. We built a lot of the PTIDs. I mean, a shitload of the PTID stuff. And we only built this other one. It's the one that if you search them and there's one that's wrecked, it was the one that we built for the other company. The wind took it and just destroyed it.
They actually use some of them PTIDs for on the border too.
Yeah. And they're extremely hard to shoot down, even though you can see them technically if it's a clear day. But they're lighter than air. That you can basically riddle them with bullet holes and nothing happens within reason. And we built some interesting stuff. Built some stuff for movies. Built some stuff for development stuff. Did a lot of the working at the proving grounds was cool because I got to see a lot of weird things. And
Aberdeen Proving Grounds?
No, for Ford.
Okay.
Up in Romeo and in
That's
Florida,
right.
one of the travel things. Yeah, not different proving grounds, different cars instead of military stuff.
I've been in military and just doing military stuff.
No, I went to the only real little travel stuff I did with that. I went to TACOM quite a few times. TACOM is here in Michigan, and they basically approve everything with a wheel or a track on it. And we did. There was, I don't know the name of the facility, but it was in South Carolina. They built all the MRAPs or upfitted them for
Mine was the
delivery.
same type. Yep.
Yeah, and I can't remember the name of the facility, but they had every form of MRAP, and we built
Mhm.
light, non-armor, and heavy armored weapon stations. The man style terminal, not the power one.
You had the Max Pros, the 33 Lima Pluses, the 31s. Yep.
We had a line for armored stuff for the Surats and some of the other stuff, and then internationally we built a truck for the Afghan army.
Heard of that?
No, they have-
International
Now they have a,
weapon stations for those.
they have a JLTV.
Yeah.
Yeah, these were that in the ambulance program I was on. It was not our military per se. It was for the Afghan and foreign wars, so that it wasn't as nice a truck per se. It was off the shelf, excuse me, international stuff that they upfitted.
We yeah, I had to live with the Afghan army for a period of time. That was just scary because of the green on blue attacks.
I could imagine that would be a culture shock at a minimum.
Yeah, there was only me and my interpreter were the only females on base, and a small contingent of U.S. forces and an Italian platoon. That was it, and then the rest of them were Afghan National Army. It was pretty scary moments. But I'm not going to talk about
There he
that.
is.
Yep, we got Jack Stands back. Yes, that'd be a double language barrier.
Well, it was just more of stuff that happened that I'm not ready to talk about. So
I understand. That's,
Hey guys.
Hey,
what's up,
Yes,
sir?
yes.
welcome back.
Glad to be back.
Sorry,
I
I just thought
I do have my
I assume that'll be
I
going.
do have my license plate from
11:30.
my Land Cruiser. I do
I'm
have
sorry,
my-
Pickle. I couldn't hear you, bud.
Oh, I was just saying, I assume gotta get going because it's 11:30 for me.
Yeah, I think I'll end it at 10 my time, so 8 minutes.
Oh, neat.
That was
Oh,
my
that's
license
cool.
plate from my
Nice.
Land Cruiser.
Holy smokes.
Pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's pretty. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I took it. Screw it. It's mine. It's my truck.
It's not like they're going to come after you for it, so.
Probably statute of limitations by now anyway.
So it's not. They're not going to deport her for it, so.
I actually wore this shirt in Afghanistan. This exact one. I took a selfie of me driving my Land Cruiser in this shirt. Pretty weird. That was-
So you got about a month before you're moving, Pickle, or am I off again on timing?
Hello?
Pardon?
You got about a month before you guys moved to Alberta, or is it a little longer?
Yeah, approximately. Yeah, about like 6 weeks or so, something like that. Yeah, not too much longer.
If I'm moving to Canada, I would move to Yellowknife, maybe Whitefish. That would be my picks for Canada.
He's
I'm
currently
not.
in Newfie, so.
I'm currently in Newfoundland. I'm the only, as far as I know, Newfoundlander in the community right now.
No, you're not.
I'm not. Oh,
Heterogeny Rocks is. I mailed him stickers yesterday, and he's in Newfoundland as well.
oh, sweet. What part's he from?
I'll tell you after the stream. I don't know if he wants his address out there.
Oh, yeah. Fair enough. Yes. Never know. Might know the guy.
You could. Well, because you're on a postage stamp, so.
Well, not only that, but I mean, it's a small place. There's like 500,000
No,
people.
that's what I meant by postage stamp. Is I meant where you live is very small.
Yeah.
Not that also it's $1.70 to mail you something. That's beside the point.
Yeah, and our address is literally like small numbers. They're not like 1,004.
Hello, 38 POS Racing. Definitely everybody go check out his channel. He just made his 500 last week, so he's up for going to the No Name Nationals, which is awesome.
Sweet. Congratulations, 38.
So thank you for dropping by, sir. Oh, I think Juan's a bit
That's
late.
cool. Another 500.
Yep. LNA AutoWorks made it last week. He was in the stream before. He's not now. And 38 POS. If you see him in streams, it'll normally come up as Racer is his other name. So some people have dual names, so it's kind of hard to track who's who.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's a big milestone for our channel. I mean, once you get so big, people just show up because it's you. They show up for you, not so much for the content.
I'm bad with YouTube. I'm better on Instagram.
I got both, but
I
I
just
don't have a lot of content right now.
I'll jump from video to video, watch it, but I don't do any content on YouTube. I used to, but I couldn't do it anymore. It's too much stuff.
Finally figured out the echo.
Well, that's good.
And when I got
haven't-
back in, I was playing the live, and then went on, and it was playing the live still. I was echoing the whole time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that happens.
It was like a round. Congratulations to 38. What is it? POS Racing to make the
Yep.
500. I hit 1,000 hours of view time finally last night.
Awesome.
Wow, that's
Yes.
awesome.
It's a 10-year-old channel. It's taken a while. I mean, it took me till 2 years ago to make my first 100 subscribers. So, because I wasn't really active, I was actually being shadow banned because I still had a gun video from, way back. I was part of the whole thing when they were going to. Back then, if you got your first check from AdSense, it was at $100. You didn't have to have any requirements for thousands of hours of views or thousands of subscribers, any of that. They just paid you. If you got your $100 check, you got a $100 check. If you got it every 2 months or every 6 months, and I was at $95. Very disheartening. So it took me a while to get back around to making YouTube videos. I always made some here and there, and then finally, when I bought the mill truck, I started making videos. I think I made 4 the first week. The algorithm picked that up, and then I deleted that last gun video, and then the algorithm went from this to, and so within 6 months, I finally had my first 100 subscribers.
Did you ever watch Taborosaurus Rex? Speaking of gun videos, did you ever watch that dude?
I remember the guy
Yeah.
that pretended to be the Russian, whatever, Ukrainian guy, and he wound up going to prison for a couple of years because he had both full auto firearms and some pot in his car, and now he
Oh,
can
God,
no longer
no.
make gun videos. Yes.
Nah, he just did a lot of tutorials on long range precision shooting at the Dakota.
I wasn't into long range stuff at the time.
Okay.
My wife and I both worked at a firearms manufacturing facility for a while, and so some of my gun videos were guns that were on loan to us, or some that we got as paychecks from working there, and we would make our videos, and that actually helped push his product. So after they demonetized the gun videos, we deleted a lot of those videos immediately because they were advertising for somebody else anyway. I had one that was a Japanese Arasaka. It had black Pacific Island sand in it, and I made a video about it.
Was it a 6.5?
It's very historic fire.
Was it 6.5 or 7.7?
It was the 6.5. That was the first Japanese Arasaka I bought because it had the full mum on it because it was a Russian capture. Because all the ones the American soldiers brought home had to have the mum disabled or scratched out or completely ground off the receiver. So the Russian captured ones did not have that because they didn't surrender to the Russians, and the Russians said, "We own these firearms now," and they used them. So that was a historic value video to me. Unfortunately, the YouTube algorithm did not view it the same way, and so a few months after I started getting views on the mill truck here, I realized that video was still on my channel because it was way, way down in the back of the channel. I deleted that, and all of a sudden my view count skyrocketed, and also the subscriber count. So, you don't see a lot of new gun YouTube channels. You see some old legacy ones that now use advertisers because they don't get monetized by YouTube.
I like that truck in the background. Looks really, really cool.
Well, it's 86. The owner of it, when he sold it to me, told me it was an 87. So with the being an 87 in my mind, it was the throttle body fuel injection truck. So my very first video of this truck, I hadn't really opened the hood yet. He threw a battery in it. We tried to start it. It turned over once. It fired, boom, boom, and then it wouldn't try to fire again. And I was under the assumption that maybe it had one of those clutch safety lockouts. And we opened the hood, found the clutch master cylinder was completely bone dry. We poured brakes fluid in it. They come back the next day. Well, he'd also charged the battery and maybe whatever, figured out what else was wrong with it. I came back the next day. Again, there was no key. It was a screwdriver that was actually stabbed into the driver's seat, had been there for decades as their usable key. And because everybody in town used to use this truck, apparently, or all the teenage kids used to drive it for him. And I put the key in, started it right up. I had already asked him. I was like, "Hey, you mind if I work on this truck during the weekend?" He's like, "Do whatever you want to it. It's your truck." He didn't allow me to pay him until he actually found the title. He had to wait until Monday morning till the lady in the office, who knew where the title was, probably his wife, until somebody at the office could find the title for him. And then he's like, "Oh, I'll meet with you at 4 p.m. on Monday." And so I met with him at 4 p.m. I'd already been over there all weekend long. I put a new key ignition cylinder in it and did some other work to it, verified that it ran. I'd already taken the rear. There was no rear seat. He still never found the rear seat. Took the rear doors and just cleaned out all the garbage out of the back of the truck. It's cleaned and swept and whatever I could do short of vacuuming. I probably did have a vacuum that was probably in my camper. Probably used my company-owned generator and went over there and vacuumed the back floorboard out. Because it was full of what all cars that have been set for the last 10 years are usually full of. Rat turds and stuff. So I cleaned out that, and I even think the video of me going through the glove box was actually prior to me actually purchasing the truck. And there was a Audio Vox radio, and the actual pamphlet to the Audio Vox radio was in the glove box, and also an instruction manual to the old Polaroid cameras.
Heck yeah, that's.
And I know 6% knows what a Polaroid is, and she probably does too. Picking with Pickle. Back in the day, before digital cameras, people would take pictures and then go develop the film to see what they had taken a picture of.
Spit, right?
And before that, and occasionally, if you paid a lot of extra money, you had a Polaroid camera that would spit out a print, effectively a print, and you had to wave it dry. Yes, and it was a chemical reaction. And now the Polaroids we took back then are really faded, and because the chemical reaction never really stops on those pictures. So. Go ahead, 6%.
I greatly appreciate everybody coming in tonight. I appreciate everybody in the chat. Thank you all for showing up in the live stream. Thank you to Buff's Garage. Thank you to Pickle. Thank you to Jackyards and Jack Stands and Center Blocks. Thank you to Miss Carol. What's the best way for people to find you guys if they'd like to see what you're doing?
Is that Miss? There we go. Is that Miss Carol?
That's Miss Carol.
Okay, she was in the other chat the other day. Yes.
Yeah. The
My wife likes you, by the way.
The awkward chick. Yeah, thank you. I'm just the awkward car girl, I guess.
Well,
you know a lot. That's amazing. My wife surprises people because she knows a lot about firearms. She's sold more than anybody I know.
Has she ever gotten into reloading?
I do the reloading. She doesn't do that. When we moved from the old house where we lived at when she was working at the gun shop, also remember that was also the house I grew up in from second grade on, or somebody in my family always lived in that house. I joined the military from that house. My middle brother joined that military from that house. Even my youngest brother joined the military from that house. At all times, somebody from the family, whether it was my parents or my brothers, all lived in that house until about 4 years ago. When we moved out of that house, me and my wife probably spent 20 trips moving stuff from the old house to our house that we own. We called it manna from heaven. There was live ammo in every corner of that house. We literally used a rake the last day I was there, used a yard rake, and would rake up ammo out of the carpet and put it in a box, and we sorted through it later. Because while we worked at the gun shop, If a box of ammo got busted, they would send it home with us for free.
Yeah.
So we were not very nice to those boxes of ammo.
So you ended up with like some like 7.9, 7.6 like Swedish ammo and
I didn't have any Swedes at the time. I do have Swedes and Swiss, and
big,
I've got some of the
Europe.
exotic calibers. Yes,
Some
I'll buy a caliber of ammo before I buy the gun that goes with it. I actually bought a case of 6.5 Argentine Mauser before I bought a 6.5, and now I have 6.5 Argentine, 6 of those guns.
like
What's the
4
best
like
way-
375 Ruger and 408 Rigby or
Sorry,
I don't
6%,
have
what are you trying to
really
say there, buddy?
exotic ones. I have the antique calibers. Go ahead, 6%.
Sorry, guys. We do have to end it. What's the best way for people to find you, Jack Stands?
You can find me on my Jack Stands and Cinderblocks YouTube channel, and I also have Casey at jackstandsandcinderblocks.com. There's also a subscribe at jackstandsandcinderblocks.com. Either way, it goes into the same inbox. But I would love to assemble a subscriber list in there. So when I do launch a video, if YouTube doesn't show it to you, I can email you directly. And or if you want to receive stickers or something or communicate with me directly, it's Casey at jackstandsandcinderblocks.com, just like it's spelled on my YouTube channel.
And Pickle.
You can find me at Pickin' with Pickle here on YouTube or on my Instagram, which is also Pickin' with Pickle. And I do
Love
have
it.
plans for the future.
That is an awesome name.
Well,
Pickle. I think somebody
all
here
credit
came up
goes
with
to
that.
this guy up here. He came up with it. I did not. I am not that creative.
There we go.
And
I'm working
Miss
on it.
Jill,
I'm working on
What's
it. There we go.
for people to find you if they like.
you can find me on Instagram. It's here. Like I'll pop in, but I don't have any content. Like you want to see pictures and reels and weird stuff, girly stuff, whatever. It's on my Instagram.
Cool.
I have a lot of hair bows.
Hair bows.
Mhm.
We used to put bows in my first stepdaughter's hair all the time. She was a little redhead. She got tired of pink eventually.
I wear large hair bows every day.
The gentleman that was on before is Buff from Buff's Garage. You can find him on Instagram and here at Buff's Garage. And basically type it in. He's going to be the first person you find. Thank you all so much for coming in tonight. Everybody in the chat, everybody live. Thank you so much. And I will see you guys next week. Bye, everybody.
All right.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks. Take care.